At the end of the Ice Age, I accumulated tens of billions of supplies. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 676 Mingwu. Deng Shentang vaguely sensed that something was wrong. I can't lose. How could I lose? With my ability, how can I use his little tricks to fight against me? It must be because, while Deng Shentang was struggling, the Phoenix Academy had rushed over. The power of the Phoenix was burning all over his body, and the power of that flame interacted with the flame on Deng Shentang's body, making Deng Shentang even more painful. Ha ha ha. Come on, the captain of the Celestial Squad. Let's see who of us can last till the end. But I kindly remind you, I can't be killed. This time, it was the Phoenix Institute who came to torture Deng Shentang. Deng Shentang worked hard to use the power of the Holy Body Blessing to resist the burning of the Phoenix fire. At the same time, he had to free up his hands to deal with the Phoenix Academy. The flames lingered on the battlefield, and the sound of roaring continued one after another. Even though he was burned by the fire of the Phoenix, Deng Shentang was still Deng Shentang after all, and when he counterattacked with all his strength, the Phoenix Court could not resist. But Phoenix Academy's style of play is very clear. It is to fight with your life. Before Deng Shentang finds a way to restrain Phoenix Institute's immortality ability, if this fight continues, Phoenix Institute will be able to drag Deng Shentang to death sooner or later. However, Deng Shentang no longer has the time and energy to deal with it. The blood of the Phoenix spread all over his body, and the high temperature of burning made him feel so painful that he almost wanted to die immediately. But he knew that he couldn't just give up like this. He fought so hard that he unexpectedly killed the Phoenix Academy 3 more times. It's just that, no matter how he kills that guy, he will get up from the flames again, and then continue to fight Deng Shentang with a grinning grin. Despair, unparalleled despair enveloped Deng's supernatural powers. No matter how powerful his supernatural energy is, it is impossible to fight endlessly. Am I really going to fall here? Blood-red flames enveloped Deng Shentang, and the silver holy light on his body became weaker and weaker. At this time, he had to admit one thing: he couldn't continue to fight. But at the edge of life and death, there was one thing he really wanted to understand. That is, why he lost in this battle. It's not that he's not strong enough, but because, puff, Feng Huangyuan kicked his knee and hit Deng Shentang's chest directly. Although he was protected by a battlesuit, he still flew upside down tens of meters away and fell directly into the ruins. At this time, blood was gushing out of his mouth, and his eyelids could hardly be lifted. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw the naked body of the Phoenix Academy, walking towards here with a grinning grin like a devil. Ah, I see. I finally know what this is all about. So from the very beginning, I was their target. Blood foamed from Deng Shentang's mouth, and he didn't even have the strength to stand up. But, at least I want to bring the information back, he thought weakly. The Phoenix Academy walked in front of him, looking down at him with the attitude of a victor. Drip, drip. Deng Shentang closed his eyes, and a faint light flickered in his long silver hair. Just when the Phoenix Academy was about to reach out to pick off his head, Deng Shentang's head exploded with a boom. An extremely terrifying force swept away, directly blowing away the fog with a radius of a kilometer. The dense fog rolled and rolled out, and its power was so strong that the Phoenix Court, which was at the center of the explosion, was killed again. A silver storm erupted from the center of Jiangning Square, like a silver ball, that quickly enveloped one part of the sky with dazzling brilliance. But this dazzling and gorgeous light made Blizzard City's combat command center dead silent. This explosion, they understand what it means. There is such a small high energy bomb placed on the head of every captain level alien. It was jointly developed by the Deng Group and the Blizzard City Research Center, and it is very powerful. But its existence is not to kill the enemy, but to explode itself. The strength of the captain level aliens is too strong, so when they die, it is necessary to ensure that their origin will not be swallowed by the enemy. Therefore, the appearance of that huge silver white light sphere also meant that a captain level alien had fallen. The only captain level alien who appeared there was Deng Shentang. In other words, Deng Shentang is dead. The combat command center was silent, and those staff even forgot what they were doing. Several girls even fainted on the spot because they couldn't accept the facts. The death of Deng Shentang marked the complete failure of Blizzard City in this battle against the Eclipse. Lan Xincheng's eyes widened, his slender body began to tremble, and his eyes were full of dullness. Tu Yunli's face buried deep under his collar was stern. His eyes were extremely sharp, and at the same time full of anger. As for Bailey Changqing, he opened his mouth wide, not knowing what to say. None of them could have imagined that the Jiangnan region would fail in this battle. While these people were shocked, they all secretly cast their eyes on the old man on the rostrum. Zhu Zeng supported the table with both hands. His body was trembling, and his strong shoulders were also twitching. Although he lowered his head, everyone knew that his expression at this time must be very terrifying. That's right, he didn't want his subordinates to see his hideous appearance. His face has been distorted to the point of frightening, his eyes are bloodshot, and blood oozes from the corners of his mouth because he clenched his teeth too hard. The knuckles of both hands turned white due to excess of force, and the fingertips were caracalla on the table, and the nails were about to turn over. Zhu Zeng's heart was on the verge of collapse at this moment. One of his most elite teams was actually killed in battle against a Ronin organization. Below the captain, more than half of the people died in battle, but the opponent is still rampant in this land. This incident will become the biggest stain in his military career, and it will be difficult to wash it away. Shui Zhu. Lan Xincheng looked at Zhu Zeng with some concern. He knew exactly how much this matter had hit Zhu Zeng. Zhu Zeng lowered his head and said word by word, immediately order all the troops to withdraw. Immediately. When he spoke, his voice seemed to be squeezed out from the crack of the door, and his breathing was very serious. If it wasn't for so many people, he might have gone berserk by now. But he couldn't do that yet, because the battle wasn't completely over yet. He must preserve his vital strength. No matter how painful a failure is, Zhu Shui cannot be depressed. Tu Yunli said, got it. He immediately ordered the 2 helicopters staying there to return immediately. After Tu Yunli finished giving the order, Zhu Zeng could no longer control his anger. He raised his neck and slammed his fist heavily on the podium. Prepare for the death of love. I will wipe out the entire Jiangnan city and let those guys be completely buried. Everyone was shocked. Death of love, their ultimate weapon, is it still going to be used? When the eclipse first appeared, someone mentioned that they would be directly killed by the god of death of love, but this proposal was rejected by Zhu Zeng. But now, out of anger, Zhu Zeng still chose this method, because he himself realized that in today's Jiangnan region, if even the Shanshan team can't wipe out the eclipse, the only way to minimize the loss is to use the death of love. Otherwise, even if you send troops to encircle and suppress them, you will have to pay an extremely heavy price. Chapter 677 Tragic. On the workbench, after receiving Zhu Zeng's order, someone immediately started to open the launch chamber for the death of love. Everyone in the command center was terrified, although they also expected such a day. But this is the first time in the history of the country that this weapon has been used. This also officially marks that the hot weapons before the end of the world are gradually losing their influence on the world. It was replaced by the dominance of top aliens. And the 4 words, Moon of Erosion, cast a shadow over everyone's hearts. Jiangnan Plaza Center. Feng Huangyuanren walked out of the thick fog completely naked. He looked weak. Although he can be resurrected continuously, each resurrection requires great consumption. Immortality is not really immortal, but no one knows where his limit is. Deng Shentang's body could no longer be found on the ground. The high energy bomb had already shattered Deng Shentang's body, and a terrifying deep pit appeared on the ground. In order to ensure that every drop of the origin of the captain level character can be blown up, the equivalent of this bomb is also very terrifying. By the way, let it become a means of killing each other. I'm the one who wins in the end, bastard. It was too difficult for him to win. If he hadn't known Deng Shentang's ability in advance and made preparations, he would probably really die in the hands of Deng Shentang this time. The investigation captain of Blizzard City is indeed a monster. Deng Shentong took a deep breath. His body exuded red-hot waves, helping him resist the extremely cold temperature. In the distance, Mayumi Takuchi, who had been kneeling on the ground for divination, suddenly covered her mouth and coughed violently. Miss Takuchi. 40 Mana Basatoru hurriedly supported her body. A few streaks of bright red blood flowed out along her fingers. Mayumi Takuchi's face became paler and paler. At this time, even her skin began to become somewhat transparent, almost like a patient who had lost too much blood. Because of the constant bloodletting and the invasion of the cold poison, the whole arm has turned bruised and has been crippled. Blood was continuously overflowing from Mayumi Takuchi's mouth. Satoru suddenly thought of something. You must have overdrawn your blood because you helped the captain fight, right? Mayumi Takuchi struggled to let go of her hand and said to 40 Manaba Satoru, quick, tell everyone, get out of here immediately, you have to leave right away. There is a very big danger coming. Seeing Mayumi Takuchi's anxious expression, Satoru 40 Manaba suddenly understood something. He closed his eyes and began to contact all the living members of Eclipse Moon. Let them gather quickly and get out of here. Feng Huang Yuanren rushed over immediately. He casually found a suit of clothes from the ruins and dressed himself up. Although it couldn't keep out the cold, it barely covered his naked body. After listening to Satoshi Satoru's words, he said without hesitation, it seems that the other party is going to use a weapon of mass destruction to wash the ground. Get out of here immediately. The members of the Eclipse who received the signal from 40 Manaba Satoru immediately started to rush back. When everyone gathered in one place, they realized that they had lost 5 people in this battle, which was quite tragic. Such a result was unexpected by everyone. Because in the past, as long as they acted according to Mayumi Takuchi's prophecy, no one died. But this time, they lost nearly half of their players. Everyone had some doubts in their hearts, but now Mayumi Takuchi has passed out, and they have no way to ask. She can only follow her prediction and leave this ghostly place first. Satoru went to find the car, and then all the team members got into the car and left Jiangning Square without stopping for a moment. As they were leaving, they heard the flapping of helicopter wings in the distance. Feng Huang Yuanren couldn't help but look up to the sky. He had a premonition that he would meet these guys again soon. It was a tragic battle. So many people died. We can no longer continue to fight. Team leader, what should we do now? Should we continue to move forward? Jinguji Seiichiro looked at Feng Haoanjin and asked. Hoinin put one arm on the car window, and his eyes fell on Mayumi Takuchi. For this battle, she overdrawn too much strength. Even her arm was abolished. It was necessary to find a healing alien to heal her injuries. Mayumi Takuchi is the core of the Eclipse, so there is no room for loss. No, we also need to take a break for a while. But this time, we are the winners. Although Feng Huang Yuanren looked a little haggard at this time, his eyes were still full of fanatical light. Blizzard City has been hit hard enough this time. They also don't have the troops they can use to deal with us. And next time, I will give them an even bigger surprise. Jinguji Seiichiro couldn't help but look sideways at him, with the usual disgust in his eyes. Oh, what do you want to do now? We don't have any help. There will be. He smiled mysteriously, and the laughter became louder and louder in the snowfield, and was pulled away by the wind. The armed helicopter took off rumbling, and the fan blades rolled up snowflakes all over the sky. Zhang Yi frowned when he realized that they were about to evacuate. This is very abnormal. Everyone witnessed the explosion just now, and even the helicopter in the distance was shaking. And soon, they will retreat. It's not like winning a battle. Could it be that Deng Shentong lost? Zhang Yi's scalp was a little numb. He couldn't imagine that the Jiangnan region would lose against Eclipse Moon twice. And this time, it was still the case that the trump card troops were dispatched. He could even predict how furious and crazy Zhu Zeng would be. But what about Deng Shentong? He died. Zhang Yi frowned. All of this was his guess, but what happened in front of him gave him a bad feeling. If a character like Deng Shentong really died so easily, the feeling would be too unreal. Zhang Yi looked at the medical staff inside the helicopter and immediately gave up the idea of asking them. These people are only grassroots staff, and they should not know the situation at the headquarters. Several other people also noticed this subtle atmosphere. If they won, they don't need to leave in such a hurry. But such a thing as failure, they dare not even think about it. No one can afford that price. Seeing that Zhang Yi's expression was wrong, Liang Yu couldn't help leaning over and asking in a low voice, "What's wrong?" Zhang Yi shook his head. "It's nothing. Let's wait quietly to return to the city. The situation is unknown, so it is best not to speculate and discuss." Seeing this, Liang Yu didn't say anything more. She hugged the small Huahua on her lap, lowered her head, and began to stroke it. But Huahua didn't seem to like her very much. After rubbing against her palm a few times, she raised her tail and jumped to the ground, climbing up Zhang Yi's trouser legs. Cats are warm creatures, so they prefer male body heat. When it came to Zhang Yi's lap, it found a comfortable position. After grabbing the leg of the trousers, it shrank itself into a ball steadily and continued to sleep on it. Chapter 678. After the two armed helicopters left the range of Jiangning City, Zhu Zheng stared at the screen and pressed the launch button of the Death of Love fiercely. From an underground launch chamber, a huge missile slowly emerged, and then the blue-purple flame transpired, propelling it to fly into the sky. This move immediately attracted the attention of major regional forces around the world. Somebody launched the Grim Reaper. My god, is this moment still here? It has been confirmed that this death god of love comes from Huaxu Kingdom, Jiangnan area. Note, Huaxu, the mother of Fuxi and Ua, is called the first grandmother. For reasons that everyone understands, the country of Huaxu will be used to refer to the mainland in the future. Investigate what happened there immediately. The moment the Death of Love took off, the whole world got the news, which also meant that this incident could not be concealed. 2 minutes later, a huge mushroom cloud rose in the center of Jiangning. The terrifying temperature destroyed everything there, and the huge electromagnetic shockwave also caused several surrounding cities to temporarily fall into a state of stagnation in communication and power. Zhu Zheng's body fell heavily on the chair, and his heart was extremely heavy. In the end, the Death of Love was used, just because of a team of aliens. Even if he won, it would not be too glorious. But before he could breathe a sigh of relief, the staff over there immediately reported, "Commander, through the monitoring of our satellite, we found the eclipse. They escaped." Zhu Zheng's pupils shrank suddenly. He stood up in disbelief and asked, "Escaped? It's impossible. No matter how fast they escape, it's impossible for them to escape faster than the Death of Love's explosion." The staff member looked gloomy and showed the information map to Zhu Zheng. "According to our satellite intelligence, they actually left the central area of the explosion 10 minutes ago. Although due to the existence of the shielding device, the eclipse cannot be observed on the satellite image. But it is still possible to confirm their position in this way. It's like a hole in a map, very obvious." Including Zhu Zheng, everyone felt their scalps go numb. Even the Death of Love is useless to them? How could it be such a coincidence? 10 minutes ago, they were still in the downtown area of Jiangning. How could he escape so quickly? It's almost like knowing in advance that they will use Death of Love. Zhu Zheng sat on the chair blankly, as if half of his soul had been taken out of him. This time, he was completely ruined. And this action will also reduce the prestige of the Jiangnan region and his personal prestige to an extremely low level. It is not an exaggeration to describe it as embarrassing. Sun Luxuan looked at Zhu Zheng. He wanted to say something, but seeing that Zhu Zheng's state was not quite right, he stopped talking. When he looked sideways, he and the head of the War Department, Tu Yunli, looked at each other. There was a tacit feeling in the eyes of the two of them. This made the expressions of the two of them more dignified, because they can see what the real background of the eclipse is. Predict future. This is the ability that the other party has. Then, from the beginning to the end, all the puzzles have also been answered. Why are the troops in the Jiangnan region in a passive state for many battles under the advantage of local operations? No matter how you plan, you will be seen through by the other party, and you will even be at a disadvantage in terms of personnel transfer. It's not that the Celestial Squad can't beat the eclipse. It's that Eclipse Moon can find the perfect countermeasure every time, making their aliens very comfortable to fight. They even predicted that the Death of Love would be used in the Jiangnan region in advance, and they were out of danger. This ability makes people feel deeply hopeless. who can defeat an enemy who can see through the future. But soon, Zhang Yi discovered the blind spot in the matter. Eclipse prophets are not perfect predictors of the future. 5 of them were also killed because of them. One is the female ninja Nayu's Hanachiyo, who was instantly killed by Deng Shentang. And the other 4 are. Zhang Yi violently raised his head. There was a strange light in his eyes. He seems to have found the best way to deal with the eclipse. That's right, it's Zhang Yi. From the very beginning, no one paid attention to him, a stranger from the outer city. Later, with his own strength, he killed 4 members of Eclipse Moon. Although 2 of them are suspected of picking up the leak. But at that time, Seiichiro Jinguji, the number 2 figure of the eclipse, was nearby. Zhang Yi frightened Jinguangxi away head on, which proves that his strength is definitely not as simple as it appears on the surface. At the very least, it must be at the vice captain level, or even at the captain level. Zhang Yi's eyes became sharper. He felt that it was necessary for the headquarters to have a good chat with Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi will become the key point to eliminate the eclipse. At this time, Lan Xincheng was not able either. Zhu Zeng was so devastated that he was unable to arrange other affairs. As Zhu Zeng's secretary, Lan Xincheng had to solve every corner of this mess for him. He pushed the gold-rimmed glasses with the palm of his hand, then stood in the center of the command center with his hands behind his back and his chest raised. Then he said loudly, with regard to this battle, everyone present today must not reveal anything to the outside world. Once I find out that anyone leaks to the outside world, they will be deprived of the qualifications of Blizzard City residents and expelled from the country. When the staff heard the news, they couldn't help being silent. Some people thought to themselves, is this going to be sealed? But can such a huge defeat really be hidden from everyone? Zhang Yi glanced at Lan Xincheng, but didn't say anything more. Internal affairs are not in his hands. Lan Xincheng can do whatever he likes. A staff member below asked, but the loss of this battle has too much impact. Even if we don't say it, there are still many people who know it. For example, the frontline fighters. Lan Xincheng said coldly, they will also receive a notice, and they are not allowed to disclose any information to the outside world. From today onwards, no one in Blizzard City is allowed to discuss this incident in private. During this battle, we wiped out half of the members of Eclipse Moon and achieved brilliant results. Let the people of the news station broadcast this immediately and inform the whole city. Everyone understood that Langxin City wanted to create an information cocoon to prevent most people in the city from knowing the truth about the defeat of the battle. Because in the last days, the most feared thing is the instability of people's hearts, which will lead to internal turmoil. Bailey Chanking interjected, it's okay to talk about other aspects, but what about the Deng family? The death of Deng Shentang was a great blow to the Deng family. One must know that Deng Shentang is the successor that the Deng family places high hopes on, and the Deng family does not have many descendants. Even Deng Yuanbo himself has no heirs. At that time, will they still be able to silence the Deng family? Lan Xincheng was also silent. His brows were frowned, and finally said with difficulty, I have to go and talk to the Deng family. I hope they can take care of the overall situation. Unless Zhu Zeng spoke up, Lan Xincheng, the secretary, might not be given face. Chapter 679 Maintaining the situation. The failure of the second encirclement and suppression of the eclipse made the entire Blizzard City high-level chaos. Zhu Zeng's mentality exploded at this time, and the others had no choice but to come out to mend at this time, and Secretary Lan Xincheng took over the matter of blocking the news without hesitation. These things naturally have the following people to act according to the orders. As soon as that morning, Jiangnan TV's morning news broadcast the news that the district had won the battle against the Neon Ronin. In the early hours of this morning, our Jiangnan region alien troops launched a special military operation against the Ronin organization, Erosion Moon, from Neon. This operation is commanded by Zhu Zeng, the supreme commander of the region. Chief of Operations Zhang Yi, Captain of the Black-Robed Investigation Team Bailey Chanking are involved in the decision-making, as well as the Xianshan team and many strangers from outside the city. After a night of hard work, half of the members of Eclipse Moon were annihilated, and brilliant results were achieved. In Blizzard City, there is a lack of entertainment methods. Every morning after waking up, I will watch today's morning news. At this time, the people of Blizzard City could not help but rejoice when they saw that the district had won another big victory, with joyful expressions on their faces. Although they will continue to work for more than 12 hours today, they all feel full of energy. On the Deng family's side, Deng Yuanbo got the news of Deng Shentang's death in battle immediately. Everyone was terrified, for fear that this important figure in Blizzard City would be furious. Even Lan Xincheng personally called Deng Yuanbo, for fear that he would make this matter a big deal. It was not Deng Yuanbo himself who answered the phone, but his butler Lian Cheng. Mr. Deng is not convenient to answer the phone now. He told me that, if someone from the headquarters comes to ask, let me convey his meaning. The Deng family will focus on the overall situation and support the high-level decision making. After Lan Xincheng got this answer, his hanging heart finally let go. Don't look at Deng Yuanbo's superficial identity as just a businessman. But in fact, the Deng family's power and network of contacts is very large. Even in today's Blizzard City, many high-level figures have intersected with the Deng family. What's more, the development of Blizzard City also relies on the technical support provided by Deng's group. Mr. Deng understands righteousness, and I would like to express my gratitude to him on behalf of Blizzard City. I'll convey your message to him. The call ended quickly. Lian Cheng put down the retro golden telephone, turned around and walked towards the back room. Deng Yuanbo's room is antique and the furniture is mainly red sandalwood and huanghuali, which are from the last century. This is relatively rare in the mid-21st century. At this time, he was wearing a fox fur cloak, standing in front of the huge French window, quietly watching the falling snow outside the window. Lian Cheng knocked on the door and walked in, respectfully lowering his hands. Mr. Deng, we have responded to the people at the headquarters according to your instructions. Deng Yuanbo just nodded slowly. Seeing this, Lian Cheng raised his head, pondered over and over again, and asked with some puzzlement, there are many strange things revealed in this operation. The failure is too complete, and with the strength of the young master, even if he is defeated, he will not be defeated. As for death, aren't you being too gentle with them? Deng Yuanbo and Lian Cheng couldn't accept such a result. The Celestial Squad has never been defeated. Their members are all first-class players. How could they die at the hands of a group of Ronin? In Lian Cheng's mind, a conspiracy theory could not help but arise. Could it be that someone deliberately targeted and killed Deng Shentang? After all, there are also undercurrents surging in Blizzard City now. Deng Shentang, as the designated successor of the Deng family, is first class in terms of ability and popularity. Almost everyone understood that Deng Shentang was the Deng family's high hope, and they selected a strong contender for the next commander of Blizzard City. Deng Yuanbo narrowed his eyes. His expression was hidden in the dim morning light, so he couldn't see his expression clearly. Other vicissitudes of life came from his throat. No matter what, the Jiangnan region cannot be chaotic. We and the Jiangnan region are both prosperous, and we are all damaged. If there is trouble in Blizzard City, it will be difficult for the Deng family to be alone. I will continue to investigate the matter of supernatural powers carefully. But now, we have to help the region stabilize. Hearing this, Lian Cheng lowered his head and said, it's because I'm short-sighted. I'll follow your instruction, sir. No matter how sad he is, Deng Yuanbo, as the head of the Deng family, needs to be responsible for the entire family. It is undoubtedly stupid to break up with the regional headquarters now. However, this matter is definitely not over. Don't let me find out who did this. Otherwise, even Zhu Zeng, you won't be able to bear the consequences. Deng Yuanbo's dark eyes burst out with a frightening light. Zhu Zeng was able to take the position of commander of the Jiangnan region in the last days. Although it was related to his status in the army, the support of other forces was also indispensable. After all, in Blizzard City, many big families from Jiangnan gathered. People from these families are located in various locations in Blizzard City. If one day Zhu Zeng is not qualified, he will be pulled down by them. In the last days, it would definitely be a huge disaster for someone without ability to occupy a high position. The explosion of the death of love made Zhang Yi and others on the helicopter gunship realize clearly that Deng Shentang and the others had failed. If it hadn't been forced to nowhere, it would be absolutely impossible for Blizzard City to use this ultimate weapon. I didn't expect them to be so strong. Mo Zhanning's eyes were a little blurred. Obviously everyone is different. Why is there such a big gap? After all, he was also a stranger in a city, but in the end he was chopped down by the eclipse of the moon. This feeling was too much of a blow to him. Li Weihei sighed. This group is not ordinary aliens. It is said that they killed and plundered everywhere in the Neon Kanto. They can be called the most ferocious bandit gang in Kanto. How can anyone who can live in that environment not be a ruthless character? Having said this, Li Weihei took a deep breath, raised his head, and looked at the lingering radiant light outside the window. But now, everything is over. No matter how powerful a foreigner is, it is impossible to survive in front of that kind of weapon. Almost everyone agrees with this statement. Only Zhang Yi frowned, non-committal. Liang Yu asked, why do you still look worried? The headquarters has used the death of love, let alone the people who eclipse the moon. Even you and Kanga at the epsilon level can't survive? Zhang Yi said, there is a feeling that makes me very uncomfortable. I always feel that they will not die so easily. This feeling comes from the data of the eclipse group collected by Zhang Yi. They seem to have a kind of prophetic ability, and they can always predict the battle situation most accurately. Could it be that they even expected the appearance of the death of love? Chapter 680. Point card. 2 armed helicopters flew back to Blizzard City. When he came to the sky above Blizzard City, Zhang Yi cautiously stared out the window. Sure enough, the city is under martial law today, and soldiers with live ammunition are everywhere. This confirms the failure of the Celestial Squad's operation. Zhang Yi couldn't help feeling a little regretful. Although he didn't have much contact with Deng Shentong, Zhang Yi still admired that guy's character. Zhang Yi still owes him a box of original bombs. The plane landed at the indoor airport, and the huge dome opened to let them fly into it, and then slowly closed. The hatch of the helicopter was opened, and Zhang Yi took Liang Yu and Hua Hua to go out first. After all, the other people inside were either patients or nurses, and someone should transfer them to the ward later. Zhang Yi didn't follow. It's better to go to Bailey Changqing to find out the situation first. But after the cabin door was opened, Zhang Yi saw more than a dozen Yan Yun's team members standing outside. The first 3 people should be Yan Yun's officers from the badges on their shoulders. After seeing Zhang Yi, an officer with the rank of major stepped forward first, and respectfully gave a standard military salute to Zhang Yi. Welcome back in triumph, Mr. Zhang Yi. Thank you for your outstanding feats in this battle. With your own strength, you killed 4 members of Eclipse Moon, and restored the dignity of our Jiangnan region. No, Huaxu Kingdom. The major's tone was full of awe and excitement. As a senior executive of Yan'an, he certainly knew what happened in Jiangning Square. Almost all members of the Xianshan team were killed in battle. Only Deng Shentong beheaded a member of Eclipse Moon. And Zhang Yi killed 4 eclipses. If this is not the case, the face of the Jiangnan region will be completely discredited in this battle. And Huaxu Kingdom will be ridiculed by others in other countries and regions. At the very least, Zhang Yi's action made the face of the region and the country less ugly. As a soldier, Major Yan'an certainly knew how difficult it was for Zhang Yi to complete this task. This kind of feat is comparable to driving a tank alone to go deep, and 1v12 finally completed 1 through 8. Certainly worthy of their admiration. As soon as these words came out, everyone on the helicopter was stunned. Especially Mo Zongning, Li Weihei, and Yuan Hao, who questioned Zhang Yi at first, opened their mouths wide in surprise, unable to close their mouths from ear to ear. Did I hallucinate just now? Mo Zongning stared blankly at Yuan Hao, who was on the hospital bed. They seem to say that Zhang Yi killed 4 eclipses by himself. Hey, it must be something wrong with my ears. Yuan Hao's expression was also a little dull. I seem to also hallucinate. Chen Xiaoxiao, who was not far away, sarcastically said, is it so difficult to admit that others are strong? Zhang Yi actually killed 4 eclipses. 2 of them died right in front of our eyes. How so? Mo Zongning was shocked. He looked at Zhang Yi in front of the helicopter cabin door. His little head was full of great doubts. We are all strangers from the outer city. Why are you so brave when we are chopped down by the eclipse? Could it be that this is a difference in the world? Major Yan'an glanced to the side, and immediately a soldier came over, holding a plate covered in red silk in his hand. On it lay some black cards that looked partly metal and partly synthetic. Major Yan Yan took out a black card from it and handed it to Zhang Yi. This is the point card you got for this operation. With this card, you can spend in Blizzard City and exchange various supplies to the headquarters. Major Yan Yan suddenly laughed and said, "You have gained a total of 4 million points for this action." Zhang Yi couldn't help whistling. It sounds like a lot. But I don't understand the concept of this thing very well. How do you measure its value? Major Yan Yan thought for a while and explained, the value of points is similar to the currency before the end of the world. It's just that the price level is far higher than before the end of the world. So strictly speaking, the purchasing power of points is higher than before the end of the world. The money is stronger. Zhang Yi's eyes lit up immediately. He took the scorecard and then approached Major Yan Yan familiarly, hugging his shoulder. "With this thing, can I buy anything?" Major Yan Yan said to him in a low voice. "Some materials require authorization to purchase. For example, weapons and equipment made with cutting-edge technology. However, judging from the feats you have made, most of the supplies will be open to you." Zhang Yi nodded with a satisfied smile. He doesn't really need other things, but what makes him excited about Blizzard City are the weapons and equipment made with advanced technology. For example, the black battlesuit he is wearing now. With it, even if you don't use the power, you can obviously feel that your body's strength and reaction speed have increased a lot. Then where do I go to exchange weapons and equipment? Is it the place where I received the weapons before? Zhang Yi asked. Major Yan Yan nodded. Yes, that's right there. Your scorecard is of a high level and can open the corresponding material warehouse. Okay, thanks. Zhang Yi smiled with satisfaction. Major Yan Yan said, "No, I should be the one thanking you. This is not polite. It stands to reason that fighting against foreign enemies should have been the responsibility of these regional soldiers. Zhang Yi is an ordinary citizen and should not be on the front line. Now, on the contrary, relying on others to restore the little dignity. It is really ashamed." At this moment, the other people on the helicopter couldn't sit still. They also put in a lot of effort in this operation and almost died. "Zhang Yi can get so many points. What about them?" Mo Zhangning shouted. "Sir, where's our point card?" Major Yan Yan glanced at Mo Zhangning, then gestured to the subordinates next to him. The subordinate walked over and handed out point cards one by one. Although other than Zhang Yi, the others did not achieve much results. But after all, they were fighting for the Jiangnan region, so Yan Yan's attitude towards them was not bad. It's just that the soldiers who admire the strong obviously respect Zhang Yi more. After Mo Zhangning got the points card, he couldn't help asking, "How many points do we have in our card?" That Yan Yan said calmly, "Except for Mr. Zhang Yi, everyone else got 2,000 million points. The aliens who died in battle will receive an additional 5,000 million points as compensation. Afterwards, the points will be given to their families or inherited by people in their faction." Mo Zhangning and the others could not help but sigh when they heard that they only had 2,000 million points, while Zhang Yi had 4 million points. Comparing people to people can really piss people off. They almost died to get so many points. Although it is not a small amount, but look at Zhang Yi. His whole body is intact, and he has taken the most. It's really enviable. However, it is just envy. After confirming that Zhang Yi beheaded the 4 eclipses, they were also full of awe of Zhang Yi. Only a fool would be jealous of those who are much stronger than themselves. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 681. After Zhang Yi got the scorecard, he was going to go to Bailey Changqing first to inquire about the situation. But that Major Yan Yan stopped him. "Sorry, Mr. Zhang Yi. You can't go anywhere now." Zhang Yi glanced at him in surprise. "Is there anything else?" Major Yan Yan replied, "We have received an order from the higher level. You are not allowed to leave yet, and you need to stay in the designated area for the next period of time. Any action needs to be applied to the higher-ups. You can't go anywhere without getting approval." These words made the strangers in the outer city look at each other in dismay. Doesn't that mean house arrest? Zhang Yi lowered his head and pondered for a moment, then a meaningful smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. The defeat of the battle had a huge impact on Blizzard City. It seems that people at the top want to control the situation. He didn't refuse and nodded with a smile. Well, as you wish. He really wants to leave, and no one can keep him. After all, Space Shuttle ignores all physical existence. Major Yan'an breathed a sigh of relief and gestured to the side. Then, please come with me. Zhang Yi, Liang Yu, and Huahua followed him to a black car. As for the others, the injured will naturally be picked up by people from the medical department. Zhang Yi and Liang Yu came to a new area not long after. It is no longer the apartment building where I lived before, but entered Area A, to a place similar to a villa area. This is a detached villa with a small courtyard and a two-story building. Looking at the entire Blizzard City, this is also a relatively top-level living space. Major Yan'an said to Zhang Yi, "Here, you can contact the Yan'an soldiers around you if you need anything. Then, I wish you a pleasant stay in the future." Zhang Yi nodded to him to express his gratitude. Major Yan'an left the villa. However, around the villa, there were 4 armed Yan Yunwei guarding the 4 directions. Once Zhang Yi tried to leave, they would all find out. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows and said lightly, "It seems that things are really serious." Huahua didn't care about this. She jumped on the sofa and started rolling. Liang Yu put the long knife in her hand on the table. She looked worried. "Is the Jiangnan region putting us under house arrest? We've just done our best for the region. Why did they do this to us?" Zhang Yi shrugged. What else could it be? It must be because of the defeat in this battle that the situation in Blizzard City has changed. It might even lead to a power struggle at the top. Who knows? In short, it doesn't matter as long as it doesn't threaten our safety. I don't care about other things. Based on his outstanding performance in this battle, the Blizzard City executives will definitely try their best to win him over. Judging by the current treatment, Zhang Yi even thinks that they will let Zhang Yi be the captain. Well, when the time comes, I will have to find a way to refuse, which is really troublesome. Naively, he thought that he would be fine if he hid, but his quick-witted mind, keen insight, and powerful spatial ability couldn't be concealed. Hey, being too good is also a kind of trouble. Zhang Yi sat on the sofa, clutching his forehead slightly sadly. But Liang Yu couldn't be as calm as he was. The difference in strength determines the difference in mood between the two. She paced back and forth in the room, and after thinking about it for a long time, she decided to call the shelter. She told Zhang Yi this idea. "Should I call home and report that I'm safe? I don't know what the situation in Blizzard City will be like now. Tell them and save them from worrying. Besides, I have one more thing to worry about. Jiangning City is not far from Xianhe City. If the moon eclipse escapes to Xianhe City cannot guard against it with its current strength." Zhang Yi's eyes narrowed. He didn't think about this, because according to the information he got before, the purpose of the eclipse was to go to the Central Plains area, not to stay on the coast. After all, the idea of the Neon Landing School is that after the end of the Ice Age, the archipelago and most coastal cities will sink. It doesn't make much sense for them to go to Xianhe City. But now that Liang Yu has said so, Zhang Yi feels that he still needs to make preparations early. Don't be afraid of, just be afraid of what happens. He took out the satellite phone. The phones used by all of them were encrypted, and even the Jiangnan region could not monitor them. Zhang Yi still trusts Yang Xingxin's skills. After thinking about it, Zhang Yi called Yang Xingxin. After all, Yang Xingxin is the smartest person in the shelter, and she has a calm analysis and decision on the situation. The call was made quickly. Zhang Yi heard Yang Xingxin's worried voice, and her tone was very urgent. "Brother Zhang Yi, how are you doing in Blizzard City? We are almost scared to death. The god of death of love that detonated in Jiangning City can sense its light even in Xianhe City. Even the electronic equipment in Xianhe City temporarily lost its function." This made Yang Xingxin extremely worried. If it weren't for knowing Zhang Yi's style of doing things, knowing that he would not be in a dangerous situation, and Jiangnan region would not be able to hurt his own people by using the god of death of love, Yang Xingxin would really scare the fool. Zhang Yi heard her worry about him, and smiled and said, "Don't worry, we are all fine. There is nothing unusual in Xianhe City recently, right?" Yang Xingxin breathed a sigh of relief. It's still as calm as usual. Nothing special. Nothing happens is the best news. In any case, Zhang Yi hopes that his base camp can maintain peace. Zhang Yi said, I will tell you one thing. Remember, it must be kept secret. Only you know it, and other people in the shelter don't need to know it for the time being. This time Blizzard City's crusade against the eclipse failed. The status of the eclipse is currently unknown. Qianhe City is very close to Jiangning City. Don't leave the shelter. Once you find anything wrong, notify me as soon as possible, and hide in the basement. In addition, Zhao Hanglian's family also told them not to tell them about the eclipse of the moon, but to tell them to be careful of everything around them, and be ready to hide in the shelter at any time. With the security level of the shelter and refuge, even if someone on the eclipse escapes the death of love, it is impossible to break through in a short time. Yang Xingxin frowned slightly after listening to Zhang Yi's words. Okay, I remember, brother. I also did some research on the matter of the eclipse of the moon. I find some information very interesting. I will send it to you after sorting it out. A strange look flashed across Zhang Yi's eyes. Oh, is that so? The Jiangnan region has also conducted some investigations on the eclipse, but the results are limited. How did you do it? Yang Xingxin smiled mysteriously. How can the programmers in the Jiangnan region compare with me? Even though they have the unique advantages of equipment in the region, they are not at the same level as me in terms of technology. Zhang Yi smiled. It's true. After all, they are all holding iron rice bowls. Few of the world's top technical masters, especially hackers, work in official organizations. Yang Xingxin is the best example. The two chatted casually for a while, and they haven't seen each other for a long time. Yang Xingxin and Zhang Yi had a lot to say. After her legs returned to normal, her personality became lively. At the end, Zhang Yi didn't know why, but subconsciously said, be sure to pay attention to safety, and remember to protect yourself. A look of happiness appeared on Yang Xingxin's face, and her heart was filled with joy to be missed by Zhang Yi so much. Brother, did you only call Xingxin? Or did you call everyone else? Zhang Yi froze for a moment. Of course I called you first. I knew it. Brother really loves Xingxin the most. Yang Xingxin said with a smile. A strange flush appeared on her face. Zhang Yi couldn't help laughing. He just thought that only Yang Xingxin could handle this kind of thing calmly, so he talked to her. Otherwise, if it were Zalkeda and the others, they would be frightened and anxious. Xingxin will not let brother down. Xingxin will not become a drag, and can protect herself well. Yang Xingxin said in a low voice. She lowered her head. Under her long bangs, her dark eyes flickered with flickering light, and there was a dangerous aura pervading, even a little close to madness. Zhang Yi didn't notice this. After all, he couldn't see Yang Xingxin's expression through the phone. I've never regarded you as a burden. Xingxin is the best. She has always been a good helper to my brother. Yang Xingxin nodded. Well, thank you brother. The two ended the call. Zhang Yi put the phone aside, held his head in his hands, and began to think about what to do next. But on this point, it mainly depends on the attitude of the high-level officials in the Jiangnan region. On the other side, Yang Xingxin clenched the satellite phone tightly with her tender little hand. After standing there for a long time, she finally made a decision in her heart. So, wearing plush slippers, she walked towards Zalkena's infirmary step by step. When they came to the infirmary, Zalkena was also inside, trying hard to experiment with medical skills with a sea fish. The fish were left by Zhang Yi when he extracted the seawater, and they were kept at home not for eating, but mainly for ornamental purposes. Living creatures are very rare in the last days, and taking a look at them occasionally can relieve stress very well. Zalkena used it as an experiment to test the upper limit of his doctor ability and strive to develop more abilities. Zhang Yi told her that supernatural powers are like extra limbs that grow out of a person's body. Everyone has different mutations and has different upper limits of abilities. Therefore, only by your own continuous development and research can you develop the potential of the supernatural ability to the greatest extent. In this regard, Zalkeda firmly believed. Boom boom boom. There was a knock on the door. Zalkeda put down her work and looked out the door. Please come in. Yang Xingxin pushed the door open and walked in, with a smile on her face, flushed and sickly. Sister, let's start that experiment. Chapter 682 Dangerous Game. Yang Xingxin found Zhao Ke and made a request. This request made Zhao Ke's complexion change. Have you thought it through? Xingxin, that experiment is very dangerous. Moreover, it will be extremely painful. Perhaps for human beings, there is almost no more painful experience than it. Yang Xingxin walked over with a smile. She put her hands behind her back and looked up playfully at Zhao Ke. Sister, Xingxin also hopes to have stronger power to help brother. So, let's get started. Seeing Yang Xingxin's determined expression in her smile, Zhao Ke understood her determination. She sighed softly. Okay then. Zhao Ke didn't say much and brought Yang Xingxin to an operating table. Yang Xingxin took off her shoes, revealing her feet wrapped in white cotton socks, then climbed onto the operating table and lay down smiling. Zhao Ke restrained her hands and feet with a restraint device and bound her body with a restraint belt to prevent her from struggling in the next experiment. During the whole process, Yang Xingxin had a smile on her face, which was a kind of realization. Zhao Ke couldn't bear it. She took a deep breath and reminded her for the last time, it's still too late to regret it. I'm really afraid you won't be able to bear this kind of pain. Yang Xingxin slowly closed her eyes. Sister, let's start. Zhao Ke didn't say anything more. She knew in her heart that Yang Xingxin's choice was correct. Although this method may not be effective, but according to their long-term research, the theoretical answer is that this kind of experiment is worth trying. Zhao Ke pushed over a transparent shelf, which was an acrylic box, just enough to wrap Yang Xingxin's head. After the device was installed, Zhao Ke connected a heart rate detection device to Yang Xingxin's body. Looking at Yang Xingxin, who was waiting for the experiment to start with her eyes closed, she reached out and opened the valve connected to the acrylic water tank. Wow. Water began to pour into the water tank, quickly submerging Yang Xingxin's head. Yang Xingxin had a painful expression on her face. She struggled hard. It was out of instinct. After more than a minute, her struggle weakened, and her heart rate also dropped rapidly. Zhao Ke's eyes were fixed on the electrocardiogram. Ding, the electrocardiogram completely became a straight line. But Zhao Ke didn't turn on the water valve in a hurry, but stared at Yang Xingxin and her watch. She was still waiting. 2 minutes passed, but Yang Xingxin's body did not change in any way. Zhao Ke quickly opened the water valve, and then her hands became transparent, directly reaching into Yang Xingxin's chest. Holding her heart with one hand and her lungs with the other, he began to use the ability of Doctor to help her with cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Not long after, Yang Xingxin regained her heartbeat. She struggled violently from the operating table, spitting out a puddle of water. After waking up, she felt her body for the first time. But this time, she didn't feel any change. Experiment failed. Yang Xingxin's expression was a little disappointed. Zhao Ke calmly reminded, I have conducted research on your cells, and they were indeed affected by gamma rays, resulting in some mutations. However, this phenomenon generally appears in most creatures after the end of the world. It doesn't mean that you can definitely produce supernatural powers. So you need to be mentally prepared. The near-death experience is the best stimulation for the human body. If one cannot awaken the ability in this state, there are not many other means available. Zhao Ke looked at Yang Xingxin with distress. In order to awaken her abilities, she chose such a painful way. Originally, you could have a nice soul. Zhao Ke understood Yang Xingxin's position in Zhang Yi's heart. A computer genius with a super brain, she should have been Zhang Yi's first choice for Bing Po. Yang Xingxin looked at the shadowless lamp above her head expressionlessly. I've always thought the way Bing Po awakened was flawed. Sister, have you forgotten the conclusion we got from our analysis? The thing that really determines the strength of the ability should be 9. When a person is on the verge of death, the obsession in his heart will turn into his awakened ability. How strong is the obsession on the verge of death, and how powerful the ability will be. The abilities obtained by the three of you are all auxiliary oriented, which confirms what I think in my heart. And for me, if I want to gain more powerful power, I must use this method to make my thoughts reach the extreme. This is also the reason why Yang Xingxin refused to use Ice Soul in the first place. She has her own ideas. She wants to make herself a unique existence besides Zhang Yi. Zalkea took a deep breath and comforted her. Even if you don't have supernatural powers, you can still help Zhang Yi very well. Yang Xingxin shook her head. That's different. No one would despise oneself for being too powerful. And she also understands that in Zhang Yi's mind, she will always be that weak little girl who needs protection. Zhang Yi doesn't know. She also hopes to face all kinds of dangers with Zhang Yi and fight side by side. Zalkea reached out to untie the restraint belt on Yang Xingxin's body. Yang Xingxin said coldly, "Go on." Zalkea's hand froze in the air. "You." She was so shocked that she couldn't even speak. The feeling of being on the verge of death is something no one wants to experience. And Yang Xingxin actually planned to do it again. Yang Xingxin looked at Zalkea, who was stunned, and said with a smile, "Aren't you here? I won't really die. But next time, I suggest you wait a little longer. Let me feel the despair of death. Maybe it will be more effective." Zalkea looked at her cousin in front of her, and her body began to tremble slightly because of fear. This cousin is terrible. However, she couldn't refuse Yang Xingxin's request, so she could only be cruel, and started the second round of experiments. With her here, Yang Xingxin would not die, but the taste of countless times of frantic exploration on the verge of death, just thinking about it will make your scalp tingle. Linhai City. After the remaining troops of the corroding moon left Jiangning City, they returned to Linhai City again. Because at this time, only this place has been swept away by them, so there are no enemies. In that battle, although they defeated the Xianshan team and beheaded Deng Shentong, they also suffered heavy losses. Mayu's Hanachiyo, my wife Nanako, Takizawa Takashi, Kamiya Ruichi, and Akatsu Shinichiro. All 5 died in that battle. This is unprecedented in the time since the development of the eclipse. Even before, they encountered powerful enemies in Kanto. But every time, with the help of Mayumi Takeuchi, the danger was saved. A group of people now returned to their icebreaker hidden in the harbor, and slowly left the shore. Headed by Feng Huangyu and Run, the remaining 8 people stood at the bow, silently mourning towards the land. Even though they were just a group of temporarily formed desperados, they had already formed a friendship on the road together, and they expressed their condolences for the 5 people who died from the bottom of their hearts. After the mourning was over, Jin Fenghuang put on his grey newsboy cap. This battle was beyond our expectations. Mayumi's prediction was affected, but overall we won. Next, we need to create greater turmoil for them. Then take the opportunity to negotiate with the Jiangnan region. Hearing these words, Takeuchi Mayumi's face looked a little ugly. She lowered her head and said sadly, "They died because of me. I didn't do my duty well. There was a problem with my divination." Hearing this, Phoenix Courtyard Ren hurriedly turned around, holding her soft shoulders with smiling hands. "Mayumi, this incident is not your fault. Huichiyo's accident was expected long ago. You want to keep her, but none of us expected that the captain of the Tenjin team would suddenly appear around. However, the deaths of Shengu and the others are a bit strange." A glint of darkness flashed in Feng Huangyuanren's eyes. Those 4 people are all important combat power, and now they are all killed, which has some influence on them. At this time, Seiichiro Jinguji pushed his glasses and said coldly, "Among those people, I met a very dangerous guy." Everyone looked at Jinguji Seiichiro. "Dangerous guy? What a dangerous guy. Is it more dangerous with Deng's supernatural power?" Ren Fenghuang asked with a smile. "No, that's a completely different feeling." Jinguji Seiichiro recalled what happened that day, and for some reason, his back felt a chill. Both Kamiya and Yakatsu were killed in serious injuries, but no matter how seriously injured they were, they couldn't have been killed by bullets. That man, he is a very powerful user of the space system. The bullets fired from his gun are far more powerful than ordinary people. It would be fine if he was just a sniper. However, when Maito Shikigami attacked him, they were directly swallowed by him. As soon as these words came out, everyone present showed serious expressions. In terms of combat effectiveness, Jinguji Seiichiro is also at the top of the eclipse. In particular, his Shikigami possessed extremely powerful strength, and each head was no less than a Delta level alien. That sniper can easily break Jinguji Seiichiro's ability. Obviously his level is not low. At this time, Tsukamoto Nobunaga also spoke. "If you are talking about that guy, I seem to have some impression. Everyone looked over, and Nobunaga said indifferently, "My wife Nanako and Takashi went after them. Probably also died in his hands." Everyone in the eclipse was shocked. In other words, among the 5 teammates who died, 4 of them were killed by the same person. Who is that guy? Chapter 683 The Only Hope. When Hinin thought of Mayumi Takeuchi's performance during the battle, he couldn't help but have a serious and terrifying expression. Isn't that guy the one who invalidated Mayumi's prophecy? After the various clues are connected, things become clear. Mayumi Takeuchi's prophecy could not predict everything about that person. Even in her prophecy, once a person with a normal trajectory had an intersection with a sniper, their fate would change. He is an unexpected person. Takeuchi Mayumi murmured. In the next operation, if this person is involved again, we will be very unhappy. Unless, find a way to kill him. Phoenix Yuanren narrowed his eyes. Don't worry, I want to know more about that sniper. There will be a chance to kill him. The icebreaker slowly left the coast and headed for the southern waters. For the next period of time, Zhang Yi, Liang Yu and others stayed in the residence arranged by Blizzard City and were not allowed to go out at will. But apart from these, other aspects are relatively well arranged. The food is very exquisite, and the hot water is also available in unlimited hours. You must know that there is not much solar energy being used now, and resources such as gas and coal are also limited. Unlimited supply of hot water is therefore a luxury. Ordinary people in Blizzard City have limited supplies of hot water, electricity, food and other resources every day, and there is no room for waste. It doesn't matter if he can't go out, Zhang Yi can take a good rest for a few days. He took out the corpses of the 4 eclipses he killed from the different space. These 4 people are all at the elite delta level. If I absorb their power, it will definitely make me stronger. Zhang Yi was full of anticipation and put his hand on the forehead of a member of the eclipse. Soon, that familiar feeling set in. The ability of together will give him the power of dead aliens. But this time, that kind of carefree feeling did not appear. He has indeed absorbed some power, but the overall feeling for him is that the improvement is not very great. How is this going? Zhang Yi couldn't understand what was happening in front of him. In fact, this phenomenon has already appeared before. When he killed the aliens in Days City, he absorbed their origins, but he felt that he had hardly improved his abilities. I thought it was because they were too weak. But right now, the moon eclipse aliens he has absorbed are not weak chickens. But the effect after absorption is still negligible. Could it be the bottleneck? Such an idea suddenly appeared in Zhang Yi's mind. As soon as this idea appeared, he also felt that it was very reasonable. If aliens can devour evolution infinitely, then everyone will become infinite aliens. Then, these aliens from the outer city can't compare with the elite of Blizzard City anyway. This matter shows that the ability of cophagia also has its upper limit. Maybe in the future, if Zhang Yi wants to evolve again, he must devour more powerful aliens. Sure enough. But this is not a bad thing. At least in this way, there will be no gap between me and those investigation captains in Blizzard City who have a lot of resources and are fully trained by the higher level. It's good to comfort myself like this. After all, when it comes to resources, how can he compare to those who come from a wealthy family, have resources and backgrounds? Looking at the other 3 alien corpses on the ground, Zhang Yi thought for a while and called Huahua and Liang Yu over. Instead of devouring it by yourself and not getting much improvement, it is better to let the combat power around you improve a little bit. Seeing that Zhang Yi was willing to share the origin of the alien with her, Liang Yu looked in disbelief. Soon, she didn't know what she thought of, and her face flushed abnormally. Huahua doesn't care so much. When she sees delicious food, she jumps on it and swallows it without saying a word. But it only ate one stranger, and it couldn't eat the second one anymore. The origin of these aliens is very powerful, and for it takes a long time to digest each one. But Liang Yu easily devoured the origins of the other 2. Zhang Yi couldn't help but sigh in his heart. The martial arts master's foundation is too deep, and he doesn't know what level he can evolve to in the future. Now, Zhang Yi also doesn't know the specific power levels of Liang Yu and Huahua, because the ability level itself is a vague concept. But, at the very least, the upper limit of Huahua and Liang Yu is also a higher level delta, even higher. Liang Yu and Huahua go to absorb the power they just got. Zhang Yi was bored and wanted to chat with Bailey Changqing. However, when he called Bailey Changqing, he couldn't get through all the time, and the prompt was the user you dialed has turned off the phone. Zhang Yi guessed that Bailey Changqing should be in the Combat Command Center, accompanying ZHU Zheng and others, to discuss matters after the defeat of the battle. Due to the high degree of secrecy, the use of communication equipment is prohibited. The only people he could contact at this time were his friends in the shelter, as well as his nominal team members Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li. Compared with Zhang Yi and the others, the living environment of Chen Xiaoxiao and Peng Li is obviously not that good. However, since they all contributed in this battle, they were also arranged in Area A, but they lived in high-end apartments instead of detached villas. The attitudes of Chen Xiaoxiao, Peng Li and others towards Zhang Yi have undergone a big change. Zhang Yi saved their lives, which made the two women very grateful. More out of Mu Qiang's mentality and the mentality of hugging his thighs, the two often chat with Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi didn't care, since he couldn't go anywhere here anyway, so he just chatted with them to relieve boredom. A few days later, he received information about the eclipse from Yang Xingxin. He just started to let go of his leisurely mind and study the things about those neon aliens. The information sent by Yang Xingxin was indeed quite different from the information given by Blizzard City. It cannot be ruled out here that Blizzard City gave them incomplete information. However, Zhang Yi did discover many interesting things from it. It describes in more detail the life stories of the 13 eclipses, as well as their abilities. When Zhang Yi found the information named Mayumi Takuchi, his fingers flicking through the information froze. Mayumi, a novice ancient shrine maiden, the 126th generation heir of the Takuchi family. His ancestor was Takuchi Sukyun, an official in the Wuli era, and this title has been passed down from generation to generation. Those who inherit the name of Takuchi Sukyun have duties similar to those of the historian of the Huaxu kingdom. But the way of recording history is not words, but word of mouth, engraved in the mind. Passed down to later generations, the position of Takuchi Sukyun disappeared, but the responsibility of the Takuchi family has always been adhered to. Each generation of successors will follow the group training and engrave the history of Neon. It is called, not forgotten in the past, not lost in the present, not in the future. It's really interesting that it's still a job that's been passed down from generation to generation. It's just based on the conclusion of the ability. If each person's ability is related to his obsession, is this person's ability a memory? Impossible. This ability has no effect. Then, Miko, the Takuchi family, could it be the Book of Prophecy? Such a bold idea emerged in Zhang Yi's mind. Through 2 battles, the other side has overall control over the battlefield. He thinks this kind of thinking is extremely reasonable. The other party is not an official professional. They do not have powerful equipment, and they are fighting in different places, without assistance. The right time, the right place, and the right people, almost nothing is on their side. And why did they keep defeating Blizzard City's coalition forces? If the priestess named Mayumi Takuchi's ability is something similar to prophecy, then it all makes sense. Zhang Yi's expression became serious. If you put it that way, the most terrifying person in the entire eclipse is not their team leader, Feng Huangyuanren. It's Mayumi Takuchi. She is the real core of the eclipse. Zhang Yi even felt a chill down his back. Prophecy? Can see through the future? If he really has such an ability, even if he doesn't have the ability to directly end the battle, his strength can definitely be rated as Epsilon. Even on the battlefield, its role has no limit. But then again, if the other party can really count as exhaustive, why would he kill 4 people? Thinking of this, Zhang Yi couldn't help walking back and forth in the room, thinking about the essentials. Even if it has the ability to predict, it will definitely not grasp all the details of the future in every detail. It may also be because they focused all their attention on the Celestial Squad, so they ignored my existence. No, they can't distinguish our identities. If it's the ability to predict, it should be centered on them. But how did I break her ability? Zhang Yi couldn't help but fell into thought. He even had a feeling that, if he could penetrate this point, it would become the most critical means to destroy the eclipse moon. But during this period of time, when Zhang Yi was unable to go out at home, the entire Blizzard City began to have an undercurrent. The top management of Blizzard City spared no effort to block the news, so as to prevent the news of the failure of the second siege of the eclipse from spreading and affect the hearts of Blizzard City. However, where in the world is there an impenetrable wall? The Celestial Squad disappeared inexplicably. In the past, every time they returned victorious, they would make a very high-profile publicity. But this time, no one saw the handsome silver-haired man appear in public. Although the publicity was victory, judging by the attitude of the higher-ups, it seemed that they deliberately forgot about it. This feeling is like winning the world championship, but not even being able to get on the homepage of the game website. I don't know where to start. A kind of speech is quietly spreading in the city. Have you heard? In fact, the encirclement and suppression of Neon Ronin in the large area failed this time, and many people died. Even Deng Shentong, the captain of the Xianshan team, died in battle. Ah, no way. We can't even clean up a bunch of little neon lights. Who said it wasn't? Didn't you see that the atmosphere in the city in recent days is not right? He said he won the battle, but from the beginning to the end, neither the commander nor Deng Shentong showed up. It's just that there are two nice words in the news. If this is too abominable. Are you playing us like monkeys? However, if the Celestial Squad is defeated, we wouldn't really be unable to defeat Little Neon. Don't talk about it. It's too scary. I don't even dare to think about it. Even the members of the investigation team have been defeated. What else can we win? Chapter 684 An unstable situation. In Blizzard City, people's speculation about that battle became more and more widespread, and it became more and more outrageous. Because from the heart, no one can imagine that Blizzard City will lose in the battle against the eclipse. And mixed with this emotion is not only anger, but also panic. If even a small rogue organization can't be suppressed, how can we protect the safety of the people? And at this time, another voice began to emerge. It's not that our soldiers are not strong enough, but that the commander's wrong decision has caused the lives of the soldiers to be ruined in vain. The combat effectiveness of the Celestial Squad is absolutely trustworthy, but the higher-ups forced the battle to start early due to insufficient information collection, allowing them to enter the battlefield in a hurry. Our fighters lost to the opponent because of poor information. All of this is the responsibility of the command. Deng Shentong and the Xianshan team themselves have quite a lot of fans in Blizzard City. As soon as this voice appeared, it quickly gained the support of many people. They turned their anger on those in command at the top. They believe that in any case, the commander of the operation needs to be held accountable for this. Although it is impossible for such a voice to spread publicly, in private, almost everyone is discussing this matter. Even some people inside the agency are whispering in private. There is no other reason. It is really that this matter is seriously related to their survival and dignity. This movement inevitably reached Zhu Zheng's ears. At this time, he was already upset, and when he heard these words again, his heart became more and more irritable. For several days in a row, he didn't eat a single grain of rice. His heart was bleeding when he thought of the nearly wiped out Xianshan team, including the captain Deng Shentong. It takes too much energy and resources to build an investigation team. The lack of combat power of the Xianshan team may not be able to make up for it. Right now, his prestige in Blizzard City has also been hit hard. We must find a way to stabilize people's hearts. Then, exterminating the Eclipse Moon is something that must be done. But now, who can use him? The Black Robe team has no leader level aliens to sit in, and the God team is almost wiped out. The other 4 investigation teams each have important missions and cannot return. And even if he really wants to fight, he must learn the lesson of this time. Use the strength to suppress the bottom of the box, and must not underestimate the enemy anymore. In other words, it would be safer to have at least 2 investigation team level combat forces attacking at the same time. At this time of internal and external troubles, the arrival of a person helped Zhu Zheng a lot. That is the head of the Deng family, the chairman of the Deng group, Deng Yuanbo. This morning, the sky was dark, and the sky was snowing heavily. Deng Yuanbo's special seat came to the combat command center. This 50-year-old absolute pillar of the Deng family appeared in the public eye for the first time after the defeat of the battle. Many people secretly watched his actions. With the arrival of Deng Yuanbo, is he going to question Master Zhu Zengxing or support Zhu Zeng? His attitude is key, because now, the statement of this pivotal figure can definitely tilt the direction of public opinion. Moreover, he, who lost his heir, was also the biggest victim of this operation, so the weight of his words is a little bit heavier. When Zhu Zeng learned of Deng Yuanbo's arrival, he also showed a stern expression. He asked Lan Xincheng to invite Deng Yuanbo to the office, and the two of them closed the door and talked for a long time. Exactly what the conversation was about is unknown. It was only after the conversation that Lan Xincheng suddenly discovered that the haze on Zhu Zeng's face had lightened a lot. He heaved a long sigh of relief in his heart. Zhu Zeng could regain his strength, which was the scene he most hoped to see. Otherwise, if something happens to Zhu Zeng, who is his immediate leader, it will be difficult to keep his position in Blizzard City in the future. Zhu Zeng sent Deng Yuanbo away, and after thinking about it, he calmly said to Lan Xincheng, "The restraint on Zhang Yi and the others can be lifted. You call Zhang Yi and Bailey Changqing over. I have something to say to them. Talk." Lan Xincheng nodded and said yes. He hurried to order someone to bring Zhang Yi and Bailey Changqing. Soon after, Zhang Yi and Bailey Changqing came to the combat center. After receiving the news, the two met in the lobby on the first floor. Bailey Changqing showed a bitter smile to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi understood in seconds. At the beginning, the two teamed up to deceive the Jiangnan region, preventing the high-level officials of the region from knowing Zhang Yi's strength. But in this mission, to encircle and suppress the eclipse, the strength Zhang Yi displayed was obviously far higher than the district's estimate. From this aspect, the district will definitely hold Bailey Changqing accountable. It's just that during this time, the two couldn't talk to each other, even if they wanted to speak in unison. Now that Zhu Zeng is calling the two of them to come over, he must not avoid asking about this matter. Zhang Yi was fine. He was not from Blizzard City himself. Even if Zhu Zeng blamed him, he could only reprimand him, but he couldn't take any real punishment. After all, it is not a fault to conceal one's own strength. But Bailey Changqing himself is the captain of the investigation team, so this kind of behavior is hard to say. The crime can be big or small, it all depends on Zhu Zeng's mood. Lan Xincheng personally came downstairs to greet the two of them. He has a handsome face, but looks a little feminine, probably because he is a civil servant. But Zhang Yi doesn't like this guy very much, because Lan Xincheng is the kind of person who, you can tell he's very shrewd just by looking at him. Dealing with this kind of person is easy to suffer. However, Zhang Yi wasn't afraid of this. On the contrary, he thought Lan Xincheng's pretense of being smart was a bit funny. Really smart people tend to show off their talents, rather than show their sharpness. You two, please come upstairs. Zhu surely has been waiting for you for a long time. Zhang Yi looked calm, nodded with a smile, and followed Lan Xincheng as he walked over. Bailey Changqing looked complicated, but now he had no choice but to bite the bullet. After a while, the two came to Zhu Zeng's office. Lan Xincheng didn't enter, but closed the door outside. There were only Zhu Zeng and his personal guard Sun Luxuan inside. Zhu Zeng was sitting in front of the mahogany table, with his hands folded to support his chin. The light and shadow in the afternoon was a bit gloomy, covering half of his face and Sun Luxuan in the shadow. The atmosphere in the office is a bit weird. Zhang Yi thought to himself, I probably have nothing else to do with me. It must be to let me continue to work hard to deal with the eclipse. Although I have no problem dealing with the Neon Ronin, but if I have to risk my life, I'm not happy. Let's see what he says. Bailey Changqing stood next to Zhang Yi, with a straight face and sweat on his forehead. Zhu Zeng raised his head and looked at them. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly, and he said with a deep smile, "You guys are here. Sit down." "Yes." Bailey Changqing said loudly. It could be seen that he was a little nervous, and Zhang Yi smiled and nodded. "Thank you, Commander." The two sat down at the mahogany table. Zhu Zeng's eyes fell directly on Zhang Yi. "Zhang Yi, you have contributed a lot in this campaign to encircle Eclipse Moon. This surprised me. I never thought that there would be such a powerful alien in the outer city." He smiled and stretched out his hand to point Zhang Yi. "You kid, you hide really deep." As he spoke, he glanced at Bailey Changqing beside him. "Even the investigation team in our region didn't find it." Bailey Changqing felt that his throat was a little congested. He wanted to explain something, but he didn't know how to say it. Zhang Yi smiled and opened his mouth to help him relieve the pressure. The cunning rabbit still has 3 holes. I retain some means of life saving so that I can live well in the apocalypse. I hope ZHU Shui can understand. ZHU Zheng nodded. That's right. You are indeed cautious enough and able to hide. This is a very good quality. If it is on the battlefield, soldiers like you are the easiest to survive to the end. After Bailey Changqing heard this, he couldn't help but start complaining in his heart. Didn't you always say that Zhang Yi only knows that he is not good at defense? His style of play is too steady, and he puts his own interests first. Isn't he a qualified soldier? Good guy. Turning faces with you is faster than flipping books. Chapter 685. Not in reincarnation. Faced with ZHU Zheng's praise, Zhang Yi was very calm. Such nice words cannot be taken seriously. Who knows what he will make himself do later. You are too much. My strength is still far behind the elite of Blizzard City. Especially compared with professional soldiers, my combat quality is still far behind. As soon as these words came out, ZHU Zheng couldn't help thinking of the members of the Xianshan team who died in battle, as well as the junior Deng Shentang whom he had placed high hopes on, and his eyes began to turn cold. This matter, don't mention it. The result of this battle made me see many things clearly. ZHU Zheng suddenly let out a long sigh, and his eyes became erratic. In the context of the era of great changes, the role of ordinary soldiers is getting weaker and weaker. Even in higher level alien battles, no matter how good ordinary soldiers are, no, even low level aliens can hardly affect the battle situation at all. Gone. ZHU Zheng thought of those members of the Celestial Squad who died in battle. They are all well trained, but the only ones who defeated them were neon social beasts of various professions. In other words, the advent of a new era represents the emergence of a new form of warfare. This battle has taught us all a lesson. Only top aliens and intelligence, these two things are the winners and losers that determine the outcome of the battle. ZHU Zheng sighed. Before we were too conceited, and we were still immersed in the advantages of large numbers of people and local operations. If this kind of thinking is not changed in time, we will suffer a lot in the future. Zhang Yi nodded after hearing ZHU Zheng's analysis. Of course, this is mainly to let the leader know that he agrees with the leader's speech. Zhang Yi has already had this concept. From that time, the battle against the aliens in Asura City began. The Daze City army of nearly 1,000 people, 72 aliens, and 800 elite soldiers couldn't stop Zhang Yi's destructive spear from the air. This is the form of war in the new era. Alien will become the leader of the battlefield beyond hot weapons, and maybe second only to the death of love. That was the last bit of dignity in the era of hot weapons. So, ZHU Zheng put his hands on the table, his eyes fixed on Zhang Yi's face. Our next revenge will be led by aliens, and high-level aliens will be the leading ones. I have decided to hand over the initiative on the battlefield to you. So Zhang Yi, I hope you can lead the team and carry out the next mission. The air suddenly quieted down. Zhang Yi was silent. Bailey Changqing slightly turned her head to look at him in astonishment, her face full of shock. Surrounding and suppressing the eclipse, such a big matter, should be handed over to Zhang Yi, a foreigner from the outer city, to take the lead? Bailey Changqing couldn't believe his ears. But thinking about it now, Blizzard City has entered a stage where no one is available. Both of the two survey teams have been disabled and have lost their peak combat power. And Zhang Yi, who killed 4 eclipses alone, became the most suitable candidate. This is somewhat ironic in it. Zhang Yi didn't speak because his brain went down for a while. He knew that ZHU Zheng would let him go to the battlefield, but he did not expect that ZHU Zheng would let him lead the next encirclement and suppression mission. This burden came a bit fast, but it was also very heavy. Zhang Yi is a lazy person, and he doesn't like to lead a team to do tasks, especially a group of unfamiliar people who are slowing down. I don't think my ability is enough to take on such a major responsibility. You'd better find another person to do it. Blizzard City has no shortage of excellent talents. ZHU Zheng looked at him meaningfully. You are right. But you have an ability that no one else has. That is the biggest weakness of Eclipse. Zhang Yi looked at ZHU Zheng and had some guesses in his heart. Before Zhang Yi asked, ZHU Zheng explained. Although our losses were extremely heavy this time, after paying the price, we have gained enough information. Not only did we learn more about the abilities of the eclipse, but also figured out the most important person of the other party. ZHU Zheng pressed the table with both hands. His eyes were stern. We've been thinking wrong all along. The Phoenix Academy Ren is not the core of the eclipse moon at all. Their core is the priestess who has the ability to predict Mayumi Takuchi. Zhang Yi, it really looks like this. It seems that I guessed right. ZHU Zheng continued. We have figured out her abilities. He holds up 2 fingers. First, she possesses some kind of prophetic ability, which can help her see through the future to a certain extent. Because of this, they can send the most suitable people to deal with every action we take. This ability alone has weakened our strength by at least %. Even if we use the death god of love, we couldn't wipe them out. ZHU Zheng felt lingering fears when he thought of that launch of the death of love. He exhaled a long breath. It's hard for you to imagine that she had already anticipated what I would do a few minutes before I thought of it. There was not much surprise on Zhang Yi's face. He also guessed these things. After all, he was closer to that battlefield than anyone else. Bailey Changqing raised doubts. But this doesn't make sense. If she can really predict the future, why did Zhang Yi kill 4 members? ZHU Zheng said decisively. That's right. You've got the point. We found that their actions have absolute initiative in almost all battlefields. But the appearance of one person disrupted the opponent's ability to predict. ZHU Zheng stared down at Zhang Yi with burning eyes, as if he had discovered a rare treasure. As long as Zhang Yi is there, her prophecy will fail. It's amazing. Zhang Yi, that's why I hope you can lead the team to take charge of this mission. Because only you can break our embarrassing situation. Break the opponent's ability to predict. Bailey Changqing stared at Zhang Yi in astonishment. He was also puzzled. Zhang Yi's ability is obviously space. But why can it interfere with Mayumi Takuchi's prophecy? He didn't understand. ZHU Zheng leaned down, put his head close to Zhang Yi, and asked earnestly, Zhang Yi, at this time, I hope you can confess to us. What method did you use to decipher her predictive ability? Zhang Yi let out a long sigh and met ZHU Zheng's questioning eyes with clear eyes. I don't know. In fact, when I started to perform the task, I noticed something was wrong. I don't understand why I'm special. This is a lie. Zhang Yi had already vaguely guessed the truth of the matter in his heart. The ability to predict, in other words, is a weapon of causality. It rests on established destiny. However, Zhang Yi is a reborn. Although this may have something to do with Zhang Yi's undeveloped ability. But in the original timeline, Zhang Yi should be a dead person, so his future cannot be predicted. And the space he lives in forms a unique field. Let the ability to predict the future lose its effect on him. Chapter 686 Tengu. ZHU Zheng continued to tell Zhang Yi his plan. The eclipse must be suppressed. Only when they are suppressed will there be peace and happiness. You took your wife to stay at home, eating hot pot, singing songs, and the eclipse suddenly came. So a day without an eclipse is a good day. Zhang Yi still doesn't want to take on the burden. I still don't think I'm the material. You should think about it carefully. It doesn't matter if I failed. The point is to live up to your expectations. To smear the faces of the Jiangnan region and even the entire Chinese people. This is a great crime. ZHU Zheng frowned and suddenly woke up. Zhang Yi clearly means that if you don't see a rabbit, you won't scatter an eagle. It's no good for him to take on such a big task. Of course he doesn't agree. ZHU Zheng patted the table. For this operation, I plan to integrate the remnants of the Xianshan team and the Black Robe team. You will lead the team and form a new team. I've even thought of a name, so I'll call it Tengu. Zhang Yi's eyes straightened. Lick the dog. What a good name. ZHU Zheng continued. The dog eclipse is the moon. The purpose of this team is to completely eradicate the eclipse of the dog day. When he got excited, he slammed the table hard. Then he spread his hands towards Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi, and you will become the captain of this team. In other words, congratulations, you can directly become the investigation captain. Zhang Yi was unmoved when he heard the words. He reached out and touched his chin. But this matter doesn't appeal to me. Bailey Changqing's mood was extremely complicated, and Zhu Zeng appointed Zhang Yi as the new captain without even asking for his opinion. In other words, he was captain for less than a month, and was gone in the blink of an eye. However, during this period of time, he clearly felt that he really did not have the strength to be the captain, and others have never regarded him as the captain. This is a very cruel and realistic world, and those without strength will naturally not be valued. However, compared to this matter, Zhang Yi's attitude is not surprising. He knew what Zhang Yi wanted. Be it Zhu Zeng, or the guard behind him, Sun Luxun, all showed strange expressions. Zhu Zeng asked, "Do you know what the investigation captain means?" In the entire Jiangnan region, the investigation captains have great privileges. Except for a small number of high-level officials, they have the most authority. If you become the investigation captain, you will have supreme power and reputation, and you will be admired by all people, and become a hero. There was no trace of emotion on Zhang Yi's face. He just smiled lightly, and said casually, "I don't want to be a hero. Fame, power, these things are not what I want. I just want a stable life, and rich material and spiritual enjoyment. But I don't lack those things." There was a look of astonishment in Sun Luxun's eyes. He looked at Zhang Yi with admiration in his heart. Sun Luxun smiled and nodded silently. It's really rare for this young man to be able to take fame and fortune so lightly. Zhu Zeng also fell into a brief silence. His hands tapped on the table. If Zhang Yi doesn't even care about these things, what else can impress him? But Zhang Yi took the initiative to speak. "I still say that I need my help to deal with the eclipse, and I will never shirk this matter. But don't let me be the captain. I prefer to act alone. At most, I can cooperate with you, and I'm not good at commanding." Zhang Yi hates carrying a bunch of burdens. In short, if you have a tow bottle around, it is very troublesome. So that's what you thought. Zhu Zeng took a deep breath. Zhang Yi did not refuse to join the next encirclement and suppression operation, which made Zhu Zeng quite satisfied. It's just that he doesn't quite understand why young people nowadays are so flat. Why is he not willing to take the opportunity to be promoted, and raise his salary, and to make a name for himself, even though he is given the opportunity? Zhu Zeng rubbed his stubble-covered chin. "But besides you, no one else is more suitable for this position. After all, to integrate the two major investigation teams, not everyone can take on the position of captain. The most important thing is that he must be strong enough." Zhu Zeng really had no better candidate. Otherwise, he would not let a foreigner from the outer city take over temporarily as the captain of the Tengu team. Zhang Yi smiled slightly. "In short, you should think about this matter carefully. I believe there will be someone more suitable than me for this position. The captain is the one who takes the blame, and if something goes wrong, everyone will have to come to you." Zhang Yi would not do it, even if he was beaten to death. Zhu Zeng's expression was a bit tangled, but after thinking for a while, he smiled and said, "Well, I will think about this matter carefully. However, as long as you are willing to join Tengu, it will be a good thing. You can also go back and think about it carefully. If you change your mind, this position can be reserved for you at any time." Zhu Zeng had as gentle a smile as possible on his face. This made Bailey Changqing dumbfounded. The fierce tiger Zhu Zeng, who has always been known for his majesty, rarely shows such an expression to others. Even Deng Shentang was often reprimanded by Zhu Zeng because of his lax attitude. Bailey Changqing couldn't help looking at Zhang Yi. There was a faint smile on that bored face. Apart from being a little handsome, there was nothing special about it. But obviously, his status in Zhu Zeng's heart was different. Zhang Yi leaned forward and suddenly said to Zhu Zeng with a smile, "Then, Zhu Shui, if I want to crusade against the eclipse moon, in terms of supplies, shouldn't there be an unlimited supply? He won't work in vain. He's a bastard if he doesn't take advantage of it. The Blizzard City family has a big business, and he has to take advantage of this opportunity to ruthlessly squeeze a wave of wool. And in his hands, the 4 million points have not been consumed yet. He couldn't eat it while carrying it on his body, so he wanted to spend it quickly." Hearing this, Zhu Zeng smiled and said, "Of course. You can choose weapons at will. As long as you like it, you can take it." Cough cough. At this moment, Sun Luxuan coughed behind him. Then he reminded Zhu Zhengdao softly, "Sure Zhu, he is a stranger in the space department." Zhu Zheng's face froze, and suddenly he felt a chill down his back, and his forehead was about to sweat. "Good guy, I was so blunt that I took all the belongings of Blizzard City into it. Ahem. In terms of supplies, you can make a list. I'll have someone send them to you." Seeing that his plan had failed, Zhang Yi couldn't help saying, "Okay, that's fine. But we can talk about the supplies later. I hope that I can be equipped with a batch of top level equipment. Especially the kind of close-fitting black combat suit. I want to get more sets." The black suit left such a deep impression on Zhang Yi that it could improve his physical functions even without using acceleration skills. He desperately wanted it. Chapter 687. Zhu Zheng asked curiously, "You want so many sets, do you want to give them to your friends?" After becoming a member of the temporary investigation team, Tengu, that kind of combat uniform must be equipped. But Zhang Yi didn't just think about himself. With so many partners in the family, it is best for everyone to have a set. Zhang Yi nodded. "I should be able to get one set myself, right? I can use my points to redeem the others. I wonder if it is possible?" Bailey Changqing heard the words and quickly reminded Zhang Yi. "Zhang Yi, those things are the highest technical secrets of Blizzard City, and they cannot be circulated to the outside world." Zhu Zheng interrupted him. "Why not?" Bailey Evergreen. Zhu Zheng stared at Zhang Yi with burning eyes. In order to be able to avenge his shame, he can satisfy almost all of Zhang Yi's conditions to eliminate the eclipse this time. As long as this kid who can crack the opponent's law of causality is willing to join Tengu. Zhu Zheng is a soldier, but he is also a big man with the ability to lead. He knows how to win over people's hearts and make people work hard for him. The most important point is that you must not be stingy. He crossed his hands. "Isn't it just a few sets of battle suits? As long as you want to exchange them, you can do whatever you want. After all, everyone is their own." Zhang Yi hurriedly waved his hand. "Hey, I just said that I will participate in this operation. But it doesn't mean that I promise to join Blizzard City. I'm still used to staying in my den." Zhu Zheng said with a smile. "It's easy to say, don't rush to make a decision. The most critical thing right now is to solve the problem of the eclipse of the moon. As long as Zhang Yi can help him clean up the eclipse moon, let him call Zhang Yi Big Brother. Then, if there is nothing else, can I leave first?" Zhang Yi pointed to the door behind him. He can't wait to exchange for a few sets of black suits now. He was wearing Bailey Changqing, which was secretly lent to him, and he returned it long ago. Now he wanted to get his own set quickly. Zhu Zheng smiled and nodded. "Of course, let Bailey Changqing accompany you there later. By the way, you can meet a very special person today." As soon as these words came out, both Zhang Yi and Bailey Changqing looked at Zhu Zheng curiously. "A very special person? How special?" Zhang Yi couldn't help being curious. Zhu Zheng said solemnly, "In this operation, we have learned from the previous experience. We will never underestimate the opponent's strength anymore and use an absolutely superior force to fight against it. Because of this, I contacted several other investigation teams that were out on missions." Zhang Yi's eyes narrowed. "Is there another investigation team coming?" Bailey Changqing swallowed her saliva. "Which investigation team is it?" Zhu Zheng smiled lightly. "Samzara Squad." As soon as these words came out, Bailey Changqing's face suddenly changed from cloudy to sunny, and Zhang Yi could feel the joy from his heart. Obviously, there are people in the reincarnation team who he has a good relationship with. Great. If it were them, our chances of winning would be great. Zhu Zheng nodded. The other teams are all carrying out important tasks, and they don't have time to come back. Only they just finished the task in the north, and came back as soon as they got my news. At that time, the two teams of you will join forces and we will definitely be able to wipe out the eclipse in one fell swoop. Zhu Zheng clenched his fists, and under his smiling face, it was difficult to hide the terrible hostility towards the eclipse moon in his heart. Zhang Yi scratched his cheek. He didn't know anything about other investigation teams. "It's just a brief introduction from Bailey Changqing, and I know a name." By the way, he was most impressed by Team Rose, because the members of that team were all women. Well, I will work hard with them. Zhang Yi became curious about the reincarnation team. But now he was still in a hurry to exchange items, so he bid farewell to Zhu Zheng and left the office. Bailey Changqing also got up and wanted to leave, but Zhu Zheng stopped him. Evergreen. Zhu Zheng still had a smile on his face, but the smile disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye and finally returned to that stern and majestic face. Shui Zhu. Bailey Changqing swallowed her saliva, feeling very nervous. Zhu Zheng was staring into his eyes, and a terrifying light shot out from his brown pupils, making Bailey Changqing feel a chill down his back. Take advantage of this opportunity. And, never again. Bailey Changqing instantly understood what Zhu Zheng meant. Zhu Zheng is not a fool to understand the matter of him cooperating with Zhang Yi to deceive the high-level officials of the region. The reason why he is not dealt with now is because Blizzard City is currently employing people. So give him a chance to perform well in the next action against the eclipse. If he doesn't seize the opportunity or makes the same mistake again, what awaits him is the most severe punishment by the military court. Yes. Thank you Shui Zhu. Bailey Changqing stood straight, like a thick pillar. It wasn't until he left Zhu Zheng's office that he realized that his back was already drenched and his legs were faintly weak. Bailey Changqing let out a long breath. Her face was a little pale, but after exhaling the cold air in her chest and abdomen, her heart relaxed a lot. He has temporarily passed this level. Zhang Yi was not far away, leaning against the wall and looking at him calmly. This matter has nothing to do with him, and he also knows that Zhu Zheng will not punish Bailey Changqing at this time. After all, it is a time of employment. Are you okay? Zhang Yi asked. Bailey Changqing looked around, and the nearby Yan Yunwei looked here curiously. He hurriedly straightened his back, pretending to be nonchalant, and walked to Zhang Yi's side. It's nothing, but Zhu Shui encouraged me to work hard, ha ha ha. After all, he is a middle-aged person, so he still wants to save face. Zhang Yi didn't expose him either. Let's go, take me to exchange weapons. I only want that black battle suit now, and the others don't matter. There is no shortage of living materials in Zhang Yi's hands. In the warehouse of Blizzard City, only the cutting-edge technology weapons can make his heart move. Bailey Changqing tilted his head and looked at Zhang Yi. Well, the points required for redemption are quite high. Are you sure you want to use them all for redemption? Zhang Yi touched his cheek and said casually, I don't need anything else for the time being except that. Besides, he smiled slyly, if we really want to encircle the eclipse moon, shouldn't I take the weapons and equipment at will? I don't believe Zhu Shui will be stingy about weapons. Bailey Changqing was speechless, pointed at Zhang Yi, and couldn't help saying, you really understand your calculations. Zhang Yi put his hands in his pockets with a little pride. But Bailey Changqing said mysteriously, you, after all, still underestimate the background of the district. The real good things are not the things you see. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 688 Gene Drugs. Bailey Changqing's words aroused Zhang Yi's curiosity. What do you mean? If you have something to say, you can just say it. You know I don't like guessing riddles. Zhang Yi said dissatisfied. Bailey Changqing smiled and said, indeed, weapons made of adamant metal and personal suits made of nanoparticle materials are all good things. But those things are foreign objects after all. They can only strengthen our basic combat effectiveness. But they cannot increase our upper limit. Zhang Yi has already realized something at this time. You mean, genetic medicine? Zhu Zheng once used a small box of washing powder to fool the aliens in the outer city, saying that it was a number 2 compound that could enhance abilities. Logically speaking, that kind of thing should also be on the exchange list. However, Zhang Yi didn't dare to use that thing lightly. The example of Bian Junwu is vivid. Although his strength had risen to an extremely strong level shortly after the end of the world, he also had to pay a huge price. In the end, Bian Junwu died from the hidden wound in his body. Zhang Yi has always suspected that it was caused by Blizzard's genetic medicine. Bailey Changqing nodded. After the end of the world, the pressure faced by the region is also very huge. At that time, the whole world was in chaos, and all kinds of mutated creatures emerged one after another. Even Blizzard City could hardly maintain stability. Bailey Changqing took a deep breath and seemed to be emotional. As a large region guarding the south of the Yangtze River, we must obtain a strong enough force as soon as possible to maintain the stability of the region. As for genetic medicine, this kind of thing has actually been studied many years ago, and its earliest purpose was to be applied in the military field. At this time, it is used to promote the mutation of aliens. However, for things like medicine, there must be enough experimental subjects to verify the efficacy of the medicine during the development process. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes and stared at Bailey Changqing. So, you became test subjects? Bailey Changqing sighed. Captain Bayan was the first batch. Zhang Yi sneered. Yeah, it's safest to let you do the experiment. It must be a loyal soldier with guaranteed loyalty, so as to ensure that he won't go berserk after gaining strong power. But Bailey Changqing explained, at that time, this was a last resort. We had no choice, otherwise, Blizzard City might no longer exist. For the sake of peace, we need to make certain sacrifices. If there is something that needs to be sacrificed, as soldiers, we will never back down. There was determination in his eyes. Even in the last days, the faith in his heart remains. Zhang Yi shrugged. I'm not qualified to judge you, but you are indeed great. Or maybe you had no other choice at that time. But I only care about whether the drug has side effects. But if there is a little side effect, it doesn't make any sense to me. Zhang Yi never allowed drugs with unknown ingredients to be injected into his body. Bailey Changqing smiled. After continuous improvement, the performance of the supernatural medicine has become more and more stable. Look, there is no problem with my body. He raised his arm and slapped his hard biceps hard. Forget it, I don't really need it. Zhang Yi rejected Bailey Changqing's proposal without hesitation. Bailey Changqing came over and put his arm around Zhang Yi's shoulder. I suggest that you consider it and get a copy of compound number 5. Bailey Changqing's expression was serious, so Zhang Yi asked, what is that? Bailey Changqing replied, explosive potion. It allows you to gain enormous strength in a short period of time, but after using it, there will also be extremely serious side effects. Usually, it is used in desperate situations. You can understand it as a high efficiency stimulant. Zhang Yi understood what Bailey Changqing meant. In other words, it's something to save your life, right? Bailey Changqing nodded. I usually carry a copy with me. If I'm in a desperate situation, I can use it to save my life. Of course, the exchange points for compound number 5 are very expensive, and not everyone can afford it. So I suggest you exchange one copy. It can save your life when it's critical. Zhang Yi turned his head abruptly, staring at Bailey Changqing. What about when you were in Qianhe City? Why didn't you use it? Bailey Changqing also said calmly, if you hadn't given Bing Po to the side captain, maybe we would have used it. He rubbed his chin. Speaking of which, the effect of ice apparel seems to be better than compound number 5. It's a pity that this biocatalyst from the body of an alien at the Epsilon level cannot be replicated. Zhang Yi was a little moved. Since there are such good things, it's not bad to have a copy to keep with you. Don't be afraid of, just be afraid of what happens. The two got on the elevator and then headed towards the weapon warehouse of the Combat Command Center. On the way, Zhang Yi asked about the reincarnation team again. How is the strength of the reincarnation team? I mean, compared with your Black Robe team and Deng Shentang's God team. Not surprisingly, Zhang Yi will cooperate with those people when the time comes to encircle Eclipse Moon for the 3rd time. Knowing some information in advance will be beneficial to the operation. When Bailey Changqing mentioned the reincarnation team, a smile appeared on his face. According to theory, the strength of Blizzard City's 6 major investigation teams is evenly matched. It's hard to say who is stronger. However, if it is confirmed that there are people with the ability to predict in the eclipse, then it should be the most appropriate to dispatch the reincarnation team to deal with them. Zhang Yi asked curiously, why? Bailey Chanking smiled mysteriously. I can't tell you this because it involves the abilities of the members of the reincarnation team. Zhang Yi smiled. Actually, I can guess a little bit from what you said, but I won't say it. The name of the investigation team was not chosen randomly. Most of it has something to do with their characteristics. Both the Black Robe investigation team and the God investigation team have strong individualism. Sam's are a squad. In the name of reincarnation. He also mentioned people with prophecy abilities who could cope with the lunar eclipse. Then, it is mostly related to the law of causality. Either it can restrain the prophecy, or it can change the cause and effect. If Bailey Chanking didn't say anything, Zhang Yi wouldn't be rude to ask the bottom line. However, Bailey Chanking approached mysteriously and said to Zhang Yi, when they come back, I will take you there to have a look. I guarantee that you will be surprised when you know who their captain is. Oh, is it true? Let's wait and see. Zhang Yi shrugged. Zin said, it was nothing more than a celebrity. Chapter 689 Exchange. The two walked out of the elevator, went to the first floor, and walked towards the weapon warehouse behind. When passing by the door, Bailey Chanking warmly greeted an uncle who was watching the door. Anchor, are you on duty today? The uncle smiled when he saw Bailey Chanking. Yeah. Huh. Why is the friend next to you a little unfamiliar to me? Is he a new team member? The uncle named Wu Zhengheng looked at Zhang Yi curiously. Bailey Chanking smiled and said, this is a friend from Xianhai City who assists us in our work. His name is Zhang Yi. With that said, Bailey Chanking introduced the man in front of Zhang Yi again. Zhang Yi, this is the old company commander when I joined the army, Wu Zhengheng. Just call him Old Wu. Zhang Yi has long felt that the uncle in front of him looks nearly 60 years old. However, due to the end of the world, it is always easy for people to look old. Maybe his real age is younger, but his body still looks tough. It's just that the hair is a little grey, and the face is a little more vicissitudes. He smiled and said hello, Uncle Wu. Wu Zhengheng smiled and nodded. At such a young age, you are very talented to be able to participate in Blizzard City's operations as a stranger from the outer city. Zhang Yi laughed. It's so, I'm just an ordinary person. Bailey Chanking said, Anchor, we still have things to do, so let's take a step first. I will treat you to a drink later, when I have time. Wu Zhengheng's eyes lit up. Okay. We haven't had a drink together for a while. You have to remember this. Alcohol in Blizzard City is very expensive, and ordinary people cannot afford it. So inviting someone to drink is a very extravagant thing in Blizzard City. It's no less than inviting someone to a 5-star hotel for a meal before the end of the world. Bailey Chanking smiled and said, hahaha, I will never forget it. The two bid farewell to Wu Zhengheng and walked towards the weapon warehouse. Zhang Yi asked, are you comrades in arms in the army? Why do you seem to be in a bit of a state? Not quite right. Bailey Chanking's face darkened. Zhang Yi, guess how old he is? Zhang Yi thought for a while. It looks like he's 5 or 60 years old. 60? He chose a compromise number. But Bailey Chanking smiled bitterly. He is only 46 years old this year. Zhang Yi was shocked. 46 years old? What about his white hair? Bailey Chanking said, I told you. The first batch of aliens in Blizzard City, in addition to their own mutations, there are also a large number of soldiers who participated in genetic experiments. Comparatively speaking, the captain of the Frontier Army is a successful one. As for Old Wu, he was a loser. The experiment had a great impact on his body, causing serious damage to his body functions, and even greatly shortened his lifespan. But he doesn't have the ability to awaken. The higher-ups took care of him, and asked him to be a security guard in the combat center. Zhang Yi remained silent. Blizzard City once had a very difficult and cruel history. Bailey Chanking suddenly smiled and said, in fact, his ending like this is not the worst. At least his life is guaranteed. There are still a group of brothers who didn't survive the painful experiment and died. The two chatted and came to the weapons warehouse. Zhang Yi handed out his point card. According to what Major Yanan said before, Zhang Yi has a high level of authority, and the weapons, equipment, and supplies he can exchange are far better than other aliens from the outer city. Bailey Chanking said directly, don't you want a black suit? Just tell him directly. he said to the quartermaster in charge of the warehouse. Exchange for the SLDS-2 battlesuit. The quartermaster checked Zhang Yi's points and grades through the device and said calmly, SLDS-2 battlesuit, redeeming points is 5,000 million points and requires permission level A or above. You meet the redemption permission and the point balance is 4 million points. Then, he saw a new entry in the system data. It was a special approval project from the Commander-in-Chief's office. There will be a limit on the number of other people who can exchange black battle clothes. Even members of the investigation team cannot apply for a second set if the suit is not damaged. But this time, ZHU Zheng specifically gave Zhang Yi permission to exchange 4 multiple sets of black suits. There is no limit to the number of exchanges you can make. How many sets do you need to exchange? The quartermaster asked Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi thought for a while and then asked about compound number 5. Compound number 5, is my authority enough to exchange? The quartermaster nodded. Compound number 5, the required redemption authority is A level, and the redemption points are 1 million points. You meet the redemption conditions. Do you want a redemption? Zhang Yi couldn't help taking a breath. This thing is actually more expensive than the black battlesuit. Bailey Chanking smiled and said, I've said it before, not everyone can afford to exchange this kind of life-saving thing. Even I only kept 1 copy. It's just that, after using it once, basically there will be no next time. Bailey Chanking laughed loudly, but Zhang Yi always felt that the smile was a bit bitter, at least for him. It can be seen from this, that the side effects of the number 5 compound are too great. But Zhang Yi still chose to exchange one. No matter how serious the side effects are, it is very important to be able to save your life at critical moments. However, for Zhang Yi, there is one more use of it. He can take it to the shelter when he turns back and let Zhao Ke and Lu Karen analyze its composition and see if he can produce it himself. However, now that compound number 5 has been redeemed, Zhang Yi has also developed a strong interest in several other compounds. He inquired about the functions and prices of other compounds. The quartermaster patiently introduced Zhang Yi one by one. Compound number 1, the effect is to help people enlighten supernatural powers, which can increase the probability of people's awakening, and the success rate will increase by 20%. Exchange points for 1 million points. Bailey Chanking reminded in a low voice, it is said to be 20%, but the effect is actually very average. Zhang Yi nodded. Probability, I understand. He used to play card games a lot. Compound number 2, the effect is to strengthen the ability of aliens, which can help aliens evolve to a certain extent, but limited by the user's own qualifications. The effect is unpredictable. Exchange points for 1 million points. Compound number 4, a military stimulant, can increase the strength of aliens by 12% within 20 hours of use. The side effects are significant and may be accompanied by symptoms such as dizziness, vomiting, and dehydration. Redeem 2,000 million points. The quartermaster finished introducing several other compounds. However, Zhang Yi keenly discovered that compound number 3 did not appear in the list. So, what about compound number 3? He asked. The quartermaster looked at him calmly. Compound number 3 is not in the exchange list. Oh. Quite mysterious. Bailey Chanking said to him, drugs are developed by scientific research departments. Some medicines have special effects and are not open to the public. Even I don't know their effects or even their existence. But these things are too expensive. Zhang Yi couldn't help but sighed. Except for the stimulants, every other potion cost more than 1 million points. He originally thought that he had 4 million points, so he should be able to squander it. I didn't expect the reality to be so cruel. Bailey Chanking winked at him. If you join the investigation team, you can become an official member. There are internal discounts for these things. Zhang Yi suddenly realized the reason why these things are so expensive is that they are open to the outside world. Ordinary soldiers and civilians in the city, or aliens from the outer city, have to pay a higher price if they want to exchange. And special forces like the investigation team and Yan Iron have more friendly prices. There is no way it is normal for things made by others to have an internal price. Zhang Yi asked quietly, then you can redeem it for me, and I will transfer the points to you later, okay? Bailey Changking smiled awkwardly. The exchange of this special item is registered, so it's not rational to make small moves. Zhang Yi helplessly spread his hands. After weighing it over and over again, he finally decided that there was no rush to exchange the black suit for the time being. Anyway, after carrying out the mission, no matter how old ZHU is, it is impossible to be stingy with a set of battle clothes. He wanted to exchange these medicines back first and give them to Luke, Karen and Zalker for research. So, he exchanged 4 medicines, which cost him a total of 3 million points. All of a sudden, there were only 3,000 million points left in his hand. Although it is not a small amount, if you exchange it for ordinary food and weapons, you can get a lot. But Zhang Yi didn't lack those things, so there was no need to go shopping. Chapter 690 Reincarnation Squad. After Zhang Yi finished exchanging what he wanted in his mind was to go back to Xianhe City first and give these medicines to Luke, Karen and Zalker for research. Anyway, Xianhe City is not far from here, and it doesn't take half a day to go back and forth. However, Bailey Changking stopped Zhang Yi, who wanted to go back. He smiled mysteriously. I think it's better for you to meet the members of the Samsara team first. Believe me, you won't be disappointed. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows with a playful look on his face. I'm not going to be the captain of that dog-licking team. Even if I want to cooperate with the reincarnation team, I don't need to come forward to do it. Brother Bailey, the position of captain is reserved for you. Zhang Yi smiled and patted Bailey Chanking's shoulder. Bailey Changking smiled brittlely and said, you think I don't want to? However, if you are not capable enough, it is a crime to force yourself to take responsibility. He shook his head and even regretted his greed in the beginning. No one is more suitable to be the captain of the Tengu except you. Zhang Yi. Oh. So, you want me to meet the members of the reincarnation team? It's not just that. The smile on the corner of Bailey Chanking's mouth grew stronger. The main reason is that the captain of the reincarnation team is my friend. I hope I can introduce him to you. Friend, is it? Zhang Yi curled his lips. Well, if that's the case, there's nothing wrong with going to see him. Bailey Changking said, well, you go with me. They will be back today. After meeting him, you can apply to ZHU Shui before returning to Xianhe City. Out of respect, I still have to talk to ZHU Zheng. Zhang Yi has no opinion. He put the medicine into his different space and left the combat command center with Bailey Changking. Bailey Chanking's car was parked in the parking space outside, and the two went to pick up the car. But when passing the intersection, I suddenly saw cars passing by quickly on the road. Some people even ran to the East City happily. Zhang Yi's hearing is pretty good, and he can vaguely hear what they are saying. Samsara team triumphant. It's really worthy of the pride of the common people. They have completed the mission brilliantly once again. Hey, in comparison, the Celestial Squad is just... Who said that only the children of those big families can make contributions? The children of our ordinary families are no worse than them. Gao Changkong, he is our pride. I have long said that he is much better than Deng Shentang. Zhang Yi watched helplessly as a group of people in down jackets ran towards Dongcheng. Among them was a group of girls, waving high flags and shouting vague slogans. It seems to be something like I will never forget the agreement with you, and I will keep this promise for the rest of my life. Zhang Yi looked a little dumbfounded. When is it there is such a powerful fan circle culture? Bailey Changking drove the car out, saw the dumbfounded Zhang Yi, couldn't help but smiled and said, how about it? Have you learned a lot? Zhang Yi pointed to the girl group running past. Don't they all need to find a class? They're so free. Bailey Changking explained. Those girls who can run out to meet the reincarnation team, or their parents are engaged in high-end careers, and the points they earn are enough to support them. Or it's... Bailey Changking thought for a while, then shrugged helplessly. They are just ordinary people, but they go there desperately to chase stars. They are very risky. If they don't have enough points due to skipping work, they can only sleep on the road, and they don't even have points left to buy food, hot water, and electricity. Looking at their backs as they went away, Zhang Yi couldn't help but think of the slogans they were chanting. Gao Changkong. Could it be that Gao Changkong? Bailey Changking nodded. That's right, it's Gao Changkong. Gao Changkong. This name is almost a household name in Huaxu country. He is not a top fan, but an extremely good basketball player. He first dominated the country, then entered the NBA, played for the etched Red Suns, served as a small forward for 12 years, and has 3 championship rings. Zhang Yi turned to look at Bailey Changqing in the car. Gao Changqing is the captain of Samsara squad. Bailey Changqing nodded. His eyes were shining with the same light as the group of female fans just now. Yes, he is a very remarkable man. Zhang Yi doesn't play basketball very much, but he is still familiar with Gao Changqing's name. Basically, anyone who can play basketball will be enthusiastic about Gao Changqing. Zhang Yi couldn't help sighing. Isn't this a proper winner in life? Whether it is before or after the end of the world, he is so outstanding and dazzling. Bailey Changqing said, looking at the entire Blizzard City, Gao Changqing is one of the most popular characters. Compared to the super rich second generation Deng Shentong, his background is relatively ordinary, and he doesn't have such good resources. But his influence among ordinary people may be even better. Zhang Yi doesn't chase stars, so it's hard to comment. But thinking about it, this kind of super sports superstar is born with very strong physical fitness, and it is not very surprising that he is a bit stronger after the mutation. Zhang Yi got into the co-pilot very calmly. Bailey Changqing started the car and drove towards Dangcheng along the highway. The farther you go to the east, the more congested the road becomes. It's hard to imagine Blizzard City after this apocalypse. But Zhang Yi can see the excited and expectant eyes of fans everywhere. People's ears were full of praise for Gao Changqing and the Samsara team. He couldn't help but think that this enthusiasm might be related to the failure of the encirclement and suppression of Eclipse Moon. And Blizzard City executives may also intend to promote this kind of thing in order to offset the inner dissatisfaction of the people. Relying on Bailey Changqing's special license plate, the two drove forward unimpeded all the way. As long as they see the license plate of Bailey Changqing, even if there is another one in front, they will take the initiative to make way for them. In Blizzard City, there are strict levels. It's no joke. The car drove to the gate of the city, and Zhang Yi finally saw the trace of the reincarnation team. The doors of the two snowmobiles behind the device were opened, and several team members stood at the door, cheering and waving to the outside. Some staff members of Blizzard City played a large red banner, which hung down from the 30-meter high city wall of Blizzard City to the ground. Warm congratulations to the Samsara team on their expedition to Beating Lake and their victory. On both sides of the road, countless fanatical fans cheered and shouted their names. The one who shouted the most was naturally Gao Changqing's name. Zhang Yi's car stopped on the side of the road, and Bailey Changqing told him that they could not go any further. Now is the home court of the Samsara team. They have to keep a low profile and not take the lead. Oh. Zhang Yi responded lightly, but he didn't see Gao Changqing's figure, so he probably didn't get out of the car. After a while, he saw several familiar figures again. Minister of War Tu Yunli, and several high-level officials around him. After these people appeared, Gao Changqing finally got out of the car. His stature is tall, and the official data gives a height of 1 meters. Zhang Yi sized him up. He had a gentle smile on his face, and looked very sunny. He has a strong body, and has always maintained good exercise, and he does not gain weight after retirement, which is common for stars. A natural curl hangs down naturally, adding a bit of west coast wind. The appearance of Gao Changqing inevitably caused another round of screams and cheers. Tu Yunli encouraged Gao Changqing on behalf of Blizzard City, and then left, leaving the stage to Gao Changqing and the Samsara team. However, Gao Changqing's eyes fell on Bailey Changqing's car not far away. The license plate number is very conspicuous, and it is recognized immediately. A smile appeared on the corner of Gao Changqing's mouth, and he raised his hand high in this direction, signaling Bailey Changqing to go over. Bailey Changqing smiled, and said to Zhang Yi, "Let's go. Go say hello to them." Zhang Yi opened the car door, and walked through the crowd with Bailey Changqing. The audience around looked at Zhang Yi with surprise. Who is this person? I haven't seen it before. Student face. Next to him seems to be Bailey Changqing from the Black Robe team. Hey, the Black Robe team is half useless now. The God team is again. The reincarnation team is reassuring. Who said that the children of our ordinary people's families are not as good as those nobles? Some people in the city looked at the sunny and friendly Gao Changkang among the crowd, feeling proud from the bottom of their hearts. Chapter 691. Gao Changkang was born in a civilian family, and he was not born in the army. It can be said that he represents the counterattack of ordinary people in Blizzard City, and the stories of half his life are extremely inspirational. Therefore, he has a high prestige among the people. I don't know how many girls in the city are his little fans. Many girls even privately said that the ideal state is to marry Deng Shentong and make Gao Changkang his lover. One is a domineering president who is rich, powerful and good looking, and the other is a paladin of white moonlight with outstanding talent for warmth and sunshine. Zhang Yi finally felt the enthusiasm of fans chasing stars. But this is also a good thing. After the end of the world, people are no longer looking after those little fresh meat, but brave and fearless warriors. I don't know if I will have this kind of treatment in the future. He was half a step behind Bailey Changking, and he didn't want to be too conspicuous. But Gao Changkang's eyes still lingered on him for a while. Some people's identities cannot be hidden. Just being there makes you stand out. Bailey Changking walked over, smiled and gave Gao Changkang a bear hug. Old Gao, congratulations. Did you encounter any trouble during your trip to Beating Lake this time? Gao Changkang smiled and said, fortunately, although the creature we met this time is very powerful, it doesn't have much brains. It's just that it has a lot of men, so it took us a lot of time. He looked at Zhang Yi. Who is this? Bailey Changking hurriedly introduced Zhang Yi to him. Let me introduce you. His name is Zhang Yi. He is a stranger from Xianhai City. The story about him is very long. Let's talk slowly later. Although Bailey Changking's introduction was very simple, there was no contempt in Gao Changkang's eyes. The person who can be brought by Bailey Changking by car must at least be someone close to his level as a master. Gao Changkang made such a judgment in his heart. He took the initiative to walk over and stretched out his right hand towards Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi, hello. I'm Gao Changkang, the captain of the reincarnation team. Zhang Yi glanced at his right hand, which was wearing a black leather glove. Zhang Yi also wore gloves, so he shook hands with him. Captain Gao, I have long admired your name. While looking at Gao Changkang, Zhang Yi also observed all the members of the Samsara team. The reincarnation team has a total of 9 members, but the most notable ones were the 2 people beside Gao Changkang. Standing behind him on the left was a tall, gentle woman with thick black hair that fell down to her hips. Such long hair is very rare, so it is also very eye-catching. Coupled with her beautiful figure and face, it is easy to make people dream. On the other side, there was a handsome man with a middle part in his hands and his pockets. His face was 3 points wild, 3 points cold, 3 points unruly, and 1 point contemptuous. Gao Changkang faced the crowd and shouted loudly, thank you everyone. We have returned safely. Thank you for your concern. There was another burst of excited shouts around. Someone in the crowd shouted, brother, go and kill Xiao Nahang. As soon as this topic appeared, it instantly ignited the emotions of the surrounding audience. Most people are extremely contemptuous of the country of Neon because of their emotions. Now seeing that Blizzard City lost twice in the battle against the Eclipse, I was extremely angry. At this time, they all hope that Gao Changkang can come forward to save face for the Jiangnan region and the entire Chinese race. Captain Gao, kill little Neon. Fuck him hard. Those little neon lights are just too damned. Zhang Yi was speechless when he heard these voices. How do these people understand how powerful the Eclipse is? Always be arrogant and despise your opponent. You will only let yourself fall into the narrowness of self-styled. Weakness and ignorance are not obstacles to survival. Arrogance is. Hearing this, Gao Changkang had a strange look in his eyes, but he didn't answer the fans' requests. He just smiled and waved his hands. Then he said to Bailey Changking and Zhang Yi, I'll go to the headquarters to report to ZHU Shui on the mission first. Then let's find a place to have a drink or two. I've been outside all the time, and I happened to ask you about what happened in Blizzard City recently thing. Bailey Changking scratched his head. You came back with a big victory. The higher-ups should take care of you. Gao Changkang shook his head. I declined. When headquarters asked me to come back, I heard something about the eclipse. It's not suitable to be too ostentatious now. It is easy to cause misunderstandings by others. The Xianshan team suffered heavy casualties. Deng Shentang died in battle, and the condition of the entire Deng family in the combat center was not very good. If the Samsara team celebrated wildly, how could it not be thought that this was a deliberate provocation? Gao Changkang thought very carefully and would not make such a mistake. In this case, let's have a small gathering later, Bailey Changking said with a smile. Zhang Yi didn't say anything. He didn't like talking too much nonsense in front of strangers. Before you know others, you can make fewer mistakes by talking less. At least it will not expose your weaknesses. Gao Changkang instructed his teammates behind him, especially his vice captain, that is, the man in the middle. Ji Yushan said, "I'll go there in their car." Ji Yushan stared at Zhang Yi for a long time, then nodded. Gao Changkang got into Bailey Changking's car. He sat in the co-pilot, and Zhang Yi sat in the back. The car set off towards the combat command center. After the welcome meeting, the fans returned to their respective jobs. The joy is only temporary, and most of the time, they still have to work hard to stay alive. Along the way, Gao Changkang and Bailey Changking chatted easily. Zhang Yi could see that the relationship between them was really good. Gao Changkang asked Bailey Changking about the eclipse of the moon. Bailey Changking sighed. That matter is very pessimistic. He told Gao Changkang what happened, including the failure of the last mission. Gao Changkang frowned after listening. Has even Deng Shentang failed? Bailey Changking said, if you come back at this time, if there are no accidents, the task will fall on your head. You must be mentally prepared. Gao Changkang smiled. His eyes were serious, but his face was calm. We are the defenders of order in the Jiangnan region. No matter who wants to disturb the peace and tranquility of this land, no matter how powerful the opponent is, we will take action without fear. Bailey Changking nodded, but this time, the headquarters obviously paid more attention to the eclipse. Blizzard City's dispatched manpower will definitely increase. You will meet ZHU Shui later, and he will definitely tell you about this. Furthermore, the eclipse battle also suffered a lot of losses. Although their team leader killed Deng Shentang, he was also seriously injured. Moreover, they lost 5 people in battle. Having said that, Bailey Changking gave a thumbs up to the back seat. And the one behind you is the one who killed the 4 Eclipse members alone. Chapter 692. Bailey Changking's words made Gao Changkang couldn't help turning his head and looked at Zhang Yi carefully. He had just come back from outside and didn't know the details of what happened. Naturally, he didn't know what Zhang Yi had done. But now, Bailey Changking actually said that % of the team members who were lost in the Battle of Eclipse died at the hands of a stranger from the outer city. Inevitably, Gao Changkang was greatly shocked. Zhang Yi waved his hand. Don't be so exaggerated. There are 2 people I just missed. Bailey Changking sighed. Is it really just picking up the leaks? He knew that, even if Kamiyaru Dido and Akatsuki Shinichiro, who were hit by Zhang Yi, were in their prime, they would not be Zhang Yi's opponent. Gao Changkang smiled. This is not surprising. Our land of China is vast, with a thriving population and a large number of geniuses. It doesn't mean that only those who were born in a big city or have a good family background have powerful abilities. Zhang Yi remembered at this time that Gao Changkang also came from an ordinary family. There seems to be some sympathy in these words. A few people chatted casually, but due to their status as soldiers, Bailey Changking and Gao Changkang had reservations. Bailey Changking didn't tell Gao Changkang that the headquarters was going to form a Tengu team. Gao Changkang also had great reservations about the mission he performed this time. As for Zhang Yi, he is not a person who likes to talk too much with strangers. He just dealt with a few words from the beginning to the end and didn't say more. After a while, the car arrived at the combat command center and Gao Changkang went to see ZHU Zheng. And Zhang Yi and Bailey Changking were in the lounge downstairs, drinking tea while waiting for him to come out. Gao Changkang didn't stay in ZHU Zheng's office for long, because the specific information of the mission was actually handed over to ZHU Zheng long before they returned to the city. As a soldier, ZHU Zheng didn't like that kind of long-winded official tone. Therefore, after simply chatting about the content of the mission and commending his achievements, they began to discuss the matter of the eclipse. Half an hour later, Gao Changkang came to the first floor and said to Zhang Yi and Bailey Changking with a smile, "Okay, the report work is over. Let's have a drink or two together." Zhang Yi didn't like to join in the fun, but this time to encircle Eclipse Moon, he knew that Gao Changkang's reincarnation team must be the main force. Drink and chat with him, maybe you can get some useful information. Even if you don't mention this, there is nothing wrong with having a good relationship with an investigation leader. So he readily agreed. The three people took an evergreen car and arrived at the Cypher Bar. As soon as Gao Changkang appeared here, it immediately caused a sensation in the whole bar. Those veterans, even bartenders and dancers showed great enthusiasm for him. "Hey, Captain Gao, welcome back. You must have completed the task perfectly this time, right? I'll leave it to you to settle the matter of Little Neon later. We must win the praise of the Huaxu people." Gao Changkang smiled and nodded towards the crowd, then took the elevator amidst the cheers of the crowd, and went to the box upstairs. This time, even the general manager of the password bar personally came forward and told Gao Changkang that today's consumption can be waived. You know, this is not before the end of the world. Drinks themselves are an expensive luxury item that ordinary people cannot even think about. The consumption of password bars has always been high, with per capita consumption exceeding 20,000 points. Not to mention customers at the level of Changkang and Bailey Changking, who can easily start at 6 figures. So in the password bar, free orders are extremely rare. Gao Changkang smiled dryly. "In the past, I was rarely treated like this." But Bailey Changking said with a smile, "It's because everyone has high hopes for you." Gao Changkang frowned slightly and sighed softly. In the final analysis, is it because of the defeat of the Celestial Squad that everyone panicked? The more chaotic the time, the more people look forward to the emergence of heroes. At this time, people in Blizzard City were uneasy. Gao Changkang returned with a big victory, which immediately made him the hero that people expected. After the drinks were served, several people pushed the glasses to change, and with the effect of the alcohol, the topic gradually opened up. The core content of the chat is actually about the eclipse. Gao Changkang looked at Zhang Yi with a smile on his face, but there was a meaningful look in his eyes. "Shui Zhu has already told me about you." After listening to it, I was also shocked. If a person like you appears in Blizzard City, he will definitely become an investigation captain or a detachment leader in Yan'an's army. Zhang Yi raised his glass to Gao Changkang. "What an award. Compared with Captain Gao, I still have a lot to learn." Gao Changkang laughed. "You are too modest." The two clinked glasses in the air, and half a glass of wine was drunk like this. Bailey Changking looked at Gao Changkang with a smile. "What else did Zhu Shui tell you? Is it convenient to say, no inconvenience?" Gao Changkang said, "For example, we need to merge the Shanshan squad and the Black Robe squad to form the Tengu squad." Gao Changkang pointed at Zhang Yi. "Zhu Shui told me that he very much hopes that you will serve as the captain." Zhang Yi shrugged, but I refused. He sighed. "I'm not afraid of your jokes. I'm just an ordinary warehouse manager in Xianhe City. I don't have the ability to lead, nor do I have much courage. So I have never been a material for managing people in my life." He spread his hands towards Gao Changkang. "Now that Captain Gao is back, you will definitely be responsible for this operation. Why don't you also manage the Tengu team?" Gao Changkang shook his head helplessly. "This is impossible. If both the gods and the black robes are brought under my management, the higher-ups will not want to see this situation." Zhang Yi also realized at this time that it is impossible for the top management to want their subordinates to have too much power. After all, this is the end of the world. The order collapsed, and Blizzard City managed to maintain it. It looked strong, but in reality this kind of rule was not stable. A breakdown can occur if you are not careful. If Gao Changkang had gathered the strength of the other two investigation teams, then in the future, it will be difficult for any force in Blizzard City to compete with them. Zhu Zeng's consideration is reasonable. Bailey Changking frowned. But now, there are not many people in Blizzard City who can lead an investigation team. They are all in important positions and cannot leave Blizzard City. If you don't come to bear the burden, who can bear it? Gao Changkang smiled disapprovingly. Zhu Shui and the others will make appropriate arrangements. as the guns. All we need to do is follow the arrangements from the top. Gao Changkang had an indifferent look on his face, as if he didn't care about the arrangements made by his superiors. Chapter 693 Balance. Gao Changkang, the very popular investigation leader in Blizzard City, has a sunny and calm personality. He is elegant and easygoing, and he can get along with many people. When Zhang Yi chatted with him, he felt that this person had a very good temperament. Gradually, Zhang Yi also began to discuss some other topics with him in depth. For example, the missions performed by the investigation team outside. Captain Gao, I don't know if it's convenient for me to ask a question. It's about the tasks of your investigation team. Gao Changkang thought for a while and smiled. You can ask and see. There are some things that the higher-ups ask us to keep secret, but most tasks actually don't have much confidentiality at all. Zhang Yi put down the wine glass in his hand. There are 6 investigation teams in the Jiangnan region, and they are out on missions for a long time. Even this time, the aliens from Neon appeared in the area, and all the investigation teams were not recalled. What kind of mission are you performing? Is the mission level higher than the Eclipse? Gao Changkang thought for a while, and replied with a smile. It's hard to answer this question in one sentence. I can only say that our missions are different every time, and they are varied and strange. He pointed at Bailey Changking. Take the Black Robe team as an example. They are mainly responsible for people issues. If large-scale turmoil occurs in various cities, they will be responsible for suppressing it. And our reincarnation team has been solving the beast problem recently. Zhang Yi frowned. What's the problem with suffering? This is a bit philosophical. Beast of beasts. Beast of strange beasts. Gao Changkang saw the mockery in Zhang Yi's eyes and explained with a smile. You should know that after the end of the world, we will usher in an era of great mutation. Not only humans can mutate and evolve, but other creatures can too. Zhang Yi nodded. Of course I know that. His Huahua and Xingshan's magic dog Lel are all mutant creatures. Gao Changkang said. However, there are fewer mutants in urban areas, and few are too fierce. However, in the mountains and rivers, where wild beasts gather, large-scale mutant groups may appear. It's like us humans. The more people there are, the higher the probability of mutants appearing. Moreover, the mutated individual is stronger. There are even some areas where mutated herds have appeared. Gao Changkang's eyes became serious. Take the beating lake we went to this time as an example. Many mutated beasts have wisdom, even no less than humans. Even ordinary mutated jackals, tigers, and leopards are not comparable to human physical fitness. The global catastrophe is almost returning to the primitive era, and our advantage in weapons has been greatly weakened. That's where the beasts began to rise. At the beginning, the 5 cities around Beating Lake were already occupied by the orcs. And we, with the full support of Blizzard City, took 3 months to take it down. Zhang Yi couldn't help but gasped. Isn't this a beast tide? But if you think about it carefully, this is actually very reasonable. After a long period of evolution, human beings are no longer suitable for nature. The sudden catastrophe caused most people to die directly. On the contrary, beasts with better adaptability to changes in the natural environment began to rise. After all, most beasts are stronger than humans in terms of physical fitness. As long as there is a slight mutation, it is enough to become a difficult opponent. Zhang Yi couldn't help but said, fortunately, I live by the sea. The seawater is basically frozen, because the salt content of the seawater is not so high. And even if there are some mutated creatures, they won't be too powerful. I'm afraid that there are many powerful and terrifying mutants in the ocean. However, those are also creatures in the deep sea. They shouldn't come to land to make trouble. Zhang Yi asked curiously, so, the situation of the other investigation teams is also the same? Gao Changkang smiled. Everyone has their own troubles. He didn't elaborate, and Zhang Yi also realized that this was a secret that could not be known to outsiders. After all, Zhang Yi is not yet a permanent member of Blizzard City, and some things must be reserved for him. The 3 of them broke up after drinking for more than an hour. Zhang Yi met Gao Changkang for the first time, and he had a good impression of Gao Changkang. He thought this person was quite interesting, and he didn't have much airs. However, I can only speak 3 points, and there is no in-depth communication. Zhang Yi called Zhu Zeng and mentioned that he planned to go back to Xianhai City to meet his companions. Zhu Zeng smiled and said, okay, but you have to go back quickly. Because after the reincarnation team comes back, we will have to start the next round of combat operations immediately. We can't do it without you. Zhang Yi rubbed his forehead and agreed wholeheartedly. Immediately, he asked Bailey Changqing to take him to the subway station and take the subway back to Xianhai City. As for the combat command center, Zhu Zeng ended the call with Zhang Yi and looked at the other side with a calm expression. An old man with a face like a Buddha was sitting on the sofa, drinking tea in a leisurely manner. Zhu Zeng said, Mr. Deng, now that everyone is here, our plan can be implemented. I wonder if you have any questions? Deng Yuanbo put down the cup in his hand. He looked at Zhu Zeng with a smile on his face. Has the selection of candidates been settled? Zhu Zeng frowned slightly. Zhang Yi is a very good candidate. I asked his opinion, but he is unwilling to assume the responsibility of captain. Zhu Zeng crossed his hands on his lap. His ability is very important to this operation. However, I'm more optimistic about his role in shielding the opponent's prophecy ability, not combat power. The candidate for the captain can be replaced by someone else. In terms of command alone, Bailey Changqing may be more suitable. The smile on Deng Yuanbo's face grew stronger. But can Bailey Changqing's strength convince everyone? Zhu Zeng snorted softly. Bailey Changqing is still at the level of a vice captain. Although there is a gap compared to the 6 captains, it is only inferior to them. If Bailey Changqing is not allowed to take the position, do we have to hand over the command to Gao Changkang? Deng Yuanbo smiled and said, I know, it's impossible for you to entrust such a large amount of power to one person. But this operation, our Blizzard City can no longer accept another failure. If you lose again, you should know how serious the consequences will be. Zhu Zeng's gaze became deep. If he was defeated by Eclipse again, he, the commander of the Jiangnan region, would have to take the blame and resign. But, is it really necessary for Gao Changkang to hold such a huge power? Deng Yuanbo said slowly, in my opinion, Zhang Yi is the best candidate. He refused the captain's position, but the price you offered was not high enough to impress him. Chapter 694, as long as the price is fair. Upon hearing this, Zhu Zeng frowned and said, isn't the price high enough? I have promised him that he can become the official captain of the investigation team and enjoy Blizzard's A-level material supply treatment. And the exchange authority of the weapon warehouse is basically extended to him. This is already a very high salary. If it weren't for the extraordinary moment now, he wouldn't have such a good opportunity at all. Deng Yuanbo shook his head. Shui Zhu, you are a soldier, but you don't know how to do business. I have to say a few words about this. In business, you need to get what you need. If you want Zhang Yi to agree to your conditions, you must first provide him with what he needs. Zhu Zeng was thoughtful. What does he need? How did he know what Zhang Yi needed? And it seems that Zhang Yi doesn't have anything urgently needed. Deng Yuanbo smiled and said, if this matter is difficult for you, why not let me handle it? Zhu Zeng couldn't believe his ears. When did Deng Yuanbo become so generous? A meaningful light and shadow flashed across Deng Yuanbo's squinted eyes. However, if I succeed in persuading Zhang Yi, you have to promise me one thing. Zhu Zeng frowned. This old boy really won't do good deeds for nothing. What's up? Deng Yuanbo said leisurely, I will let Zhang Yi take the lead in the next campaign, to encircle and suppress the eclipse moon. Not only that, but also his reputation must be publicized. Zhang Yi has no connection with the Deng family. Obviously, Deng Yuanbo didn't do this for his own sake. Zhu Zeng guessed Deng Yuanbo's purpose in an instant. Are you worried that Gao Changkang will gain too much prestige in Blizzard City because of this incident? Will it affect your Deng family? Deng Yuanbo smiled, but did not answer Zhu Zeng's question directly. Zhu Shui, I don't think you want your subordinates to be masters of high skill, do you? Zhu Zeng was caught in a dilemma. But no matter how you look at it, Gao Changkang is more suitable than him. Although Zhang Yi made a contribution last time, it was only because of his personal strength and luck that he picked up Liu Hongluo's mistakes. but commanding the team to fight. Let Zhang Yi be the leader of the action. Zhu Zheng is not very relieved. Deng Yuanbo said with a smile, young people may be a little immature in this respect, but we can guide them from the side. We need to allow young people to practice more. In the last days, we need to quickly cultivate talents. We must give young people opportunities. Zhu Zheng sneered. I'm not that old yet, but what you said can be considered. The smile on Deng Yuanbo's face grew stronger. Okay, since that's the case, let me persuade Zhang Yi, he said, standing up and planning to leave. Before leaving, Zhu Zheng suddenly asked behind him, is yours okay now? Deng Yuanbo's footsteps paused. Then he sighed softly. That incident hit him hard, so don't disturb him for now. Zhu Zheng nodded. Alright. After seeing Gao Changkong, Zhang Yi took Liang Yu and Huahua back to Xianhe City by subway. Xianhe City is still so cold and dead silent. Today, there are no more than people alive in this city, and it is terrifyingly deserted. When Zhang Yi took out the snowmobile and drove them back to the shelter, he felt the warmth of home. No one was told about their return, so everyone was happy to see them back. Fatty Zhu was playing games in the room, but when he heard that Zhang Yi was back, he ran out barefoot happily. As soon as he saw Zhang Yi, he yelled and rushed over to hug his thigh. Boss, why have you been here for so long this time? Woo woo woo, I'm worried all day long, because you're not at home. Seeing Fatty Zhu's cowardly look, Zhang Yi couldn't help rolling his eyes. You are still as timid as ever. Nothing happened in Xianhe City. What are you afraid of? Fatty Zhu wiped away his tears and said aggrievedly, although nothing happened in Xianhe City, didn't all H explosions happen there? The direction he pointed was the direction of Jiangning City. Although separated by hundreds of kilometers, the influence of death of love can be felt as far away as Xianhe City. Although Zhang Yi had told Yang Xingxin not to tell others about the eclipse, the explosion of H could never be hidden. He said lightly, don't worry, everything is under control, including the release of love death. Zhang Yi glanced at the room. Only Yang Xia and Zhao Heimei were there. Uncle Liu, Zhao Kena, Lu Karen, and Yang Xingxin all disappeared. Changing his clothes, Zhang Yi asked, where are they? Why did you go? Fatty Zhu blinked and explained, Uncle Yu has been practicing boxing on the 3rd floor of the basement recently. He said that doing so may make his ability break through. Uncle Yu has gradually felt that the gap between his strength and Zhang Yi's is getting bigger and bigger, and if this continues, it will only drag Zhang Yi back. Zhang Yi didn't say anything, but he felt sorry in his heart. Therefore, after Zhang Yi left, his daily training time doubled again. Basically, except for eating and sleeping, most of the time stays below. Yang Xia brought over 2 cups of hot milk and handed them to Zhang Yi and Yang Xingxin to warm them up. And Zhao Heimei also thoughtfully opened a canned cat food for Huahua. Yang Xia said, recently, we haven't been slacking off. I have been preparing supernatural food according to your instructions. But Kea and Xingxin are in their own rooms, not knowing what to do. Zhang Yi nodded. I'll go and see them. The main purpose of coming back this time is to give those compounds to Zhao Kea and Lu Karen for research. Yang Xia hurriedly said, what do you want to eat tonight? I'll prepare it. Zhang Yi replied casually, look, prepare some. Be generous. He can't stay along, and he has to go back to Blizzard City tomorrow. And for a long time to come, he had to be busy with eliminating the eclipse. Okay. Yang Xia smiled and happily prepared food. Zhang Yi himself went downstairs to find Zhao Kea and the others. Arriving outside Zhao Kea's infirmary, Zhang Yi heard the sound of crashing water in his ears. He was curious, wondering what Zhao Kea was doing. What's the matter? So much water. Could it be? Are you practicing swimming? Zhang Yi walked over and reached out to knock on the door. Kea, are you there? As if frightened by Zhang Yi, there was the sound of something breaking inside. Zhang Yi also reached out to push the door out of worry. As soon as the door was pushed open, he saw a scene that shocked him very much. Yang Xingxin was firmly tied to a chair, drenched all over. Her cute little face the size of a palm was as pale as a dead person. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel. Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 695. Chapter 696. I want to improve too much. Zalkela immediately said, I'll wait until I go back to the infirmary next time. Scraping off a little powder will be enough for a search. Zhang Yi nodded. Well, this matter is not in a hurry. According to the current information obtained by the Jiangnan region, the Eclipse suffered heavy losses and has disappeared. There is a high probability that they are recuperating in secret or recruiting helpers. In other words, Zhang Yi will be at peace for quite some time. Thinking that Yang Xingxin had just awakened her abilities and was still resting, Zhang Yi smiled and said, let's go eat first. When Xingxin wakes up, I'll tell you what happened recently. Zalkela put her arms around Zhang Yi's shoulders and said with a dependent face, okay. You have to accompany me to talk about the latest things tonight. Tonight, Zhang Yi must go to her room and have a good talk. Zhang Yi shrugged, as you wish. Zalkela stayed in the infirmary to take care of Yang Xingxin. After just awakening the ability, there will be a certain period of adaptation period, and someone needs to take care of it to avoid accidents. And Zhang Yi went upstairs with Lu Karen to meet other people. Zhao Heimei and Yang Xiaya are preparing food, and it will take a long time to have a sumptuous feast. Zhang Yi saw Uncle Yu, who had just returned from exercising below, sweating profusely. It's just that he doesn't look like a middle-aged man in his 40s now. His whole body was full of tendons and flesh, and his arms were even thicker than Zalkela's thighs. He was wearing a black undershirt, with a towel hanging around his neck, where he was wiping away his sweat. As soon as he saw Zhang Yi, Uncle Yu suddenly showed a simple and honest smile on his face. Zhang Yi, are you back? How about doing the mission in Blizzard City? Are you not injured? Like everyone else, Uncle Yu immediately asked about Zhang Yi's physical condition. Knowing that everything was fine with Zhang Yi, he was relieved. But then, he started complaining again. I've told you already, if you need to fight with Zhao Naheng, let me go there. He patted his chest, thumping. Although Uncle Yu can't do anything else, he still has a lot of strength. No matter how bad it is, I can exchange it with Zhao Naheng. At least it can lighten your burden. Zhang Yi smiled. The Eclipses are not ordinary Ronin. They are very powerful. It is said that when they were in Neon Kanto, they eliminated dozens of Neon alien organizations. With Uncle Yu's current combat power, it is difficult to fight head-on with the members of Neon. If Blizzard's medicine can really enhance the strength of other people without side effects, it might help Uncle Yu and Fatty Zoo. Zhang Yi muttered to himself. Because both of them are aliens below the level of Delta. According to theory, they cannot absorb the origins of other aliens to quickly improve their strength. However, after the advent of the era of Great Mutation, no one dared to say that they understood the mutation. He meant, even if it was just a beta level alien, he could improve his ability to the extreme. What level would it be? Zhang Yi thought about it casually in his mind, but he didn't delve into it because he really didn't know enough about it. But in the future, I will have more contacts with the Jiangnan region, and I may have the opportunity to meet their scientific researchers to obtain relevant information. Zhang Yi withdrew his thoughts, smiled and said to Uncle Yu, the battle situation was urgent at that time, and the manpower was arranged by the region. How could I just call someone over? Uncle Yu sighed, his eyes a little downcast. I also know that there is a big gap between my current ability and yours. Although I'm still working hard to regain the skills I had when I was a soldier, shooting, fighting, and scouting. But the more time passes, the more I realize how terrifying the alien is. Encountering an existence like you and Kangai again, it is simply beyond the ability of ordinary human beings to deal with it. Even until now, you and Kangai's terrifying ability still left a deep impression on Chionhei City and everyone in the Black Robe team. That kind of terrifying ability that can eclipse the sky and the earth with just one move can easily destroy a powerful warrior who has been training hard for 2.5 years. Zhang Yi patted Uncle Yu on the shoulder. There aren't many monsters like that in the world, and they can't be measured by common sense. Everyone has their own strengths. The most important thing is to use their strengths and avoid their weaknesses. There is no need to compare with others. Just like Yang Xiaya. Her ability is only to make supernatural food. She can't be said to be fighting 5 scum. She can only be said to have no combat power. But she can still play her part. Day and night. Ha ha ha, you are right. Uncle Yu's eyes burst out with confidence. There must be something I can do for you. He looked at Zhang Yi firmly and said. Zhang Yi's heart warmed up. It's something we did for each other. 2 hours later, Zhao Heimei and Yang Xia finally prepared a large table of meals. And Yang Xingxin also woke up under Zhao Ken's care. They came to the first floor, and after meeting everyone, Yang Xingxin's face was full of calmness. However, from the corner of her raised mouth, it is not difficult to find that there is an unconcealable pride in her heart. After all, she is a young girl, and it is still difficult to achieve the same level of Xingxing and IQ. But understandable. Yang Xingxin walked to Zhang Yi's side with elegant steps, and gave Zhu Fat his unceremonious look. Fatty Zhu obediently ran to the side, and sat on the small stool. Yang Xingxin sat down next to Zhang Yi, hugged his arm affectionately, looked up at him with a smile on her head. Brother, Xingxin can help you in the future. Zhang Yi was curious about Yang Xingxin's abilities, and reached out to scratch her pink nose. You have always been my best helper. Yang Xingxin giggled. That's different. She doesn't need to hide in the shelter all the time in the future. Like Liang Yu and Huata, he can follow Zhang Yi and fight with him. Zhang Yi suddenly became curious. Logically speaking, the way Yang Xingxin obtained the power is also very terrifying, after a full 37 reincarnations of death. But in terms of the degree of tragedy, it is hard to say that it is more powerful than Zhang Yi. After all, Zhang Yi was hacked to death alive, and then the resentment in his heart accumulated to the deepest level, and awakened his abilities. Although Yang Xingxin has experienced the feeling of death many times, she subconsciously understands that this is just an experiment, and Zhao Ken will save her at critical moments. She leaned close to Yang Xingxin's ear, exhaling the warm breath on her crystal clear earlobe. What is your power? Tell brother. Yang Xingxin's neck was red. She lowered her head like a little devil. Brother, do you want to give it a try? Zhang Yi was taken aback. Let me try? In other words, it's not a pure attack attribute ability? Chapter 697. Yang Xingxin smiled playfully, but said to Zhang Yi gently, my ability will not be used against my brother. Zhang Yi's expression is strange. What kind of ability is it? Yang Xingxin doesn't play tricks with Zhang Yi either. She said, my ability, I named it, Angel of Desire. Its ability is to manipulate people's hearts. Love, hatred, all kinds of emotions. As long as a person is shot by an angel's arrow, he will have such feelings from the bottom of his heart, and then get carried away by your emotions. Yang Xingxin held her face in her hands, with a sickly flushed face. You can play with people's hearts at will. What a wonderful ability. Zhang Yi couldn't help swallowing his saliva. The ability to play with people's hearts really fits the heart of this sickly girl. He was also wary if this girl took the opportunity to sneak up on him and make him fall in love with someone or hate someone. It would be terrible. Although he understood that Yang Xingxin would not hurt him. But in the eyes of the sick girl, good or bad things naturally have different definitions. So he continued to inquire about Yang Xingxin's ability. Yang Xingxin didn't hide anything from Zhang Yi, and told Zhang Yi fully about her known abilities. After listening, Zhang Yi fell into silence for a certain period of time. Because the ability obtained through that terrifying method has extremely high upper and lower limits. If it falls into the hands of an ordinary person, this kind of ability is quite tasteless, and it will even play with fire if you are not careful. But once used properly, it can create incredible effects at the right time. Sure enough, it fits Yang Xingxin's character. Soon, the meals were all ready, and Uncle Yu also went to take a shower, and returned to the living room refreshed. Although Zhang Yi left not long ago, he has experienced so many things that he has the illusion that he has not been with everyone for a long time. This warm scene of a big family crowded on a round table and having a lively meal made Zhang Yi feel very warm in his heart. During the meal, the topic quickly turned to the eclipse. Obviously, everyone is very concerned about that foreign organization. After Zhang Yi thought for a while, he planned to tell everyone the truth. No matter what, everyone must be mentally prepared. Because he couldn't guarantee that the eclipse would not appear in Qianhai City. Zhang Yi calmly told them about the eclipse of the moon and told the fact that the encirclement and suppression of the Jiangnan regional headquarters failed. As soon as these words came out, everyone's expressions were filled with surprise and worry. Have even the people in Blizzard City failed? Fatty Zoo had a look of disbelief. Didn't they send out an investigation team? At least it's at the same level as the original Black Robe team. Plus, boss, you have more than a dozen aliens from other cities. The Taibao of the Jiangnan region. Have you basically used all the power you can use? Can you lose? Zhang Yi took a deep breath and shook his head helplessly. I didn't think of it either. Not only me, probably no one would have thought of this ending. Not only was it lost, but it was also a disastrous defeat. The Shanshan team was almost wiped out, and the captain Deng Shentang was also killed. Liang Yu interjected, if Zhang Yi hadn't come out suddenly and killed the 4 Eclipse Moon members, this battle would have been a complete defeat. Uncle Yu couldn't accept it. He held his forehead with one hand, his expression extremely painful. Those damn little neon. Are they really that strong? Zhang Yi frowned. From the bottom of his heart, he was unwilling to accept this. But the facts are right in front of you. It's not just that you refuse to accept it. At this time, Yang Xingxin suddenly said, I smell a conspiracy from this incident. The dinner table suddenly fell silent, and everyone stopped what they were doing. The chicken legs that Fatty Zoo put on his mouth were silently placed in the bowl. Zhang Yi turned to look at Yang Xingxin next to him. Conspiracy? What kind of conspiracy can there be in this kind of thing? Yang Xingxin wiped her mouth with a napkin and said in a calm tone, brother, I've only seen Bayan Junwu with captain level combat power, and he's seriously injured. Bayan Junwu is dying soon. Do you think that a captain level is easy to kill? Zhang Yi shook his head. What a joke. If I don't know his ability, even if he appears in front of me now, it will be difficult for me to kill him. In the battle between aliens, intelligence is extremely important. Suddenly, Zhang Yi thought of something. You mean, it's impossible for the other party to kill Deng Shentang and the other members of the Celestial Squad so easily without knowing the abilities of them? Yang Xingxin glanced at him and smiled. No matter what happens, you can always escape, right? Zhang Yi thought of Deng Shentang's ability. He knew that Deng Shentang could manipulate light, which was one of the best abilities for concealing attacks and escaping. If a captain is determined to escape, unless the opponent is an alien of the Epsilon level, it will be absolutely difficult to kill him. However, does the opponent have an alien on the Epsilon level? According to the feedback from ZHU Zeng and others, it obviously does not exist. If that kind of existence really existed, Eclipse could completely wipe out the entire Neon Islands first, and then conflict with China. And according to intelligence, they can't confront the boss, Izumo, organization in Kanto head-on. Zhang Yi murmured. However, there are aliens among them who have the ability to predict. With this ability, wouldn't it be possible to predict Deng Shentang and their abilities? Yang Xingxin tilted her head and smiled slightly. Brother, if that alien with the ability to predict can really predict the opponent's abilities, then I think she is definitely at the Epsilon level. Because of the duel between different people, the intelligence of the first mover has an impact on the battle situation of more than 30%, and even more than 50% in group battles. They have such abilities. Why didn't they kill Izumo in Kanto? Zhang Yi involuntarily put down the chopsticks in his hand. He hadn't thought about these issues carefully before. However, upon hearing Yang Xingxin's analysis, a creepy feeling gradually developed in his heart. You mean there's a mole in Blizzard City? Zhang Yi looked at Yang Xingxin and said in disbelief. I don't really want to believe it. Zhang Yidao. Zhao Ke also said, Blizzard City will have ghosts? It's unlikely. If they cooperate with Ronin, what can they gain? Others also expressed their disbelief. Yang Xingxin said calmly, although this matter sounds outrageous, no matter from which angle you analyze it, the strength of the Jiangnan region is definitely superior to that of the Mirog organization. Therefore, if we analyze it from the usual logic, we would naturally not think that there is an inner ghost in Blizzard City. But what if we think about it from another angle? Could it be that someone in Blizzard City deliberately used the eclipse to deal with the Celestial Squad? As far as I know, the interior of Blizzard City is not monolithic. Zhang Yi's words instantly reminded Zhang Yi The Deng family has very high prestige and power in Blizzard City. Firstly, Deng Shentong is the successor of the Deng family, and secondly, there are rumors that the Deng family intends to carry Deng Shentong to the position of ZHU Zeng's successor. After all, in the last days, life and death are unpredictable, and no one knows how long ZHU Zeng can survive. Moreover, it is always necessary to prepare for a rainy day and train a group of successors for Leo ZHU. This is to prevent accidents, similar to the ancient Crown Prince system. At this time, the thoughts in Zhang Yi's mind became even more confusing. If you think about it in that direction, the situation will be terrifying and much more serious. Because Zhang Yi didn't understand how many factions there were in Blizzard City, there is even a possibility that ZHU Zeng himself wants to eradicate Deng Shentong. After all, while I was still sitting in my seat, someone was eyeing my throne. This ambiguity of power was very subtle. Chapter 698 Yang Xingxin asks for a fight. Yang Xingxin's thinking ability opened a new door for Zhang Yi. He never thought that traitors would appear inside Blizzard City. Even if there is a power struggle, no one will be crazy enough to cooperate with the Eclipse. However, eliminate all impossibilities, and what remains, however improbable, is the truth. In fact, Zhang Yi has been unable to figure out why the Xianshan team was destroyed so easily during this period of time. Even if you can't win, it's okay to escape, right? At least Zhang Yi didn't spend too much effort when he killed the 4 eclipse moons. This is certainly related to his tyrannical strength, but the members of the Xianshan team are not just for nothing. Then the most likely explanation is the information of all of them was leaked to the eclipse moon in advance. Therefore, they were restrained to death during the battle. But no one noticed Zhang Yi, a stranger from the outer city. This allowed him to take advantage of the loopholes and achieve the most brilliant results. Zhang Yi fell into silence. It's too complicated. These things are too complicated. He can't figure it out. He originally had no intention of interfering in other people's affairs. But now, he is also in it. Could it be that he himself was implicated and someone was stabbed in the back? Seeing Zhang Yi's tangled expression, Yang Xingxin continued to analyze the situation. Brother, ZHU Zeng wants you to be the captain and lead a new investigation team, right? Have you ever wondered why this is? Zhang Yi looked at Yang Xingxin and said, because my ability can help them deal with the eclipse moon. And judging from the previous encirclement and suppression campaigns, my strength is very strong. Yang Xingxin nodded. Of course there are elements in this aspect. Strength is very important. After all, some people in the region really want to use Deng's supernatural powers, and they have already achieved their goal. Then, they don't really want the region to lose to Eclipse Moon. So from now on, no one will stand in the way of encircling Eclipse Moon. In addition to having a certain level of strength, the person who leads the team must also have a characteristic, that is, they will not threaten the power of the top management. After all, the local aliens in Blizzard City, whoever has enough strength, must have a corresponding identity. At this juncture, whoever defeats the Eclipse and saves the face of the Jiangnan region and even the entire Huaxu country, his reputation will quickly rise to an incredible level. And that person may become ZHU Zeng's successor. And in Blizzard City, multiple forces restrain each other, and no one wants others to swallow the credit. Zhang Yi said thoughtfully, that's why you pushed me, a stranger from the outer city, to the front of the stage. I don't have any roots in Blizzard City. Even if I complete this mission, it will not pose any threat to the power of the high level. Besides, Zhang Yi suddenly smiled, I have always rejected Blizzard's solicitation. This also shows that I'm a person who does not yearn for power or Blizzard. Even if I complete my mission and become a hero in people's minds, they can push me along and let me stay in Xianhai City. So it is. Zhang Yi himself is not stupid. After Yang Xingxin analyzed some things, he immediately figured it out. This muddy water is really not easy, Zhang Yi said with emotion. Yang Xingxin smiled and said, actually, brother, you don't have to worry so much. Because in my opinion, if that is the case, you will be safer. Because only if you serve as the captain of the Tengu team, can Blizzard City achieve a relatively peaceful state, and the several major forces in the dark will reach a consensus, and will not stumbling each other. Zhang Yi shrugged, I hope. Anyway, I have thought about it. This task is very challenging. If the situation is not good, I will run away and save my life first. He is a bachelor. The main reason is that Zhang Yi has a very clear understanding of himself. He didn't think he was self-righteous just because he had awakened a powerful ability and was better at fighting. There are too many things involved behind this lunar eclipse, like a huge roulette wheel. Everyone on the roulette wheel could be a victim. You must take every step carefully, and you must not be dazzled by the blood. Yang Xingxin lowered her head and smiled mysteriously. Since brother, if you're worried, take me with you when you go back this time. With Xingxin here, I can help you with ideas, right? The little witch talked for a long time before revealing her real purpose. Only when Zhang Yi needs her can she stand by Zhang Yi's side and show her abilities. Zhang Yi took a deep look at Yang Xingxin. The little girl's thoughts were written on her face, not hidden at all. After Zhang Yi thought about it for a while, he said, "You have never experienced a real battlefield. People will die on the battlefield, and I can't even guarantee that I can always be by your side to protect you. Do you understand?" Although Yang Xingxin has now awakened her abilities, Zhang Yi still doesn't know how effective her abilities will be. If such a young girl appeared on the battlefield, if any accident happened, Zhang Yi would not even dare to think about it. Yang Xingxin said to Zhang Yi seriously, "Xingxin will not cause trouble for brother. Don't treat Xingxin like a child. And this time, it's safer to have someone on your side, isn't it? Uncle, you also spoke at this time." He slapped his thigh and suggested seriously, "That's right, Zhang Yi. People in Blizzard City may not be trustworthy, but we ourselves can use it with confidence. Let me go with you." Zhang Yi hurriedly waved his hand. "Don't make trouble. Don't make trouble. This time the opponent is no joke. Even Blizzard City has carefully selected elites to participate in the battle. I'll think about it again." He felt that he really needed Yang Xingxin by his side. In terms of mind, Yang Xingxin is much easier to use than him. Faced with small scenes, Zhang Yi's ingenuity is sufficient, but there is obviously a lot involved at the moment. Moreover, Yang Xingxin was born in an upper-class society, so he has more contact with those ways than he does. He had to find a way to fight the war, and he also had to be entangled in the undercurrent of Blizzard City, so he really didn't have that much energy. On the other hand, bringing Yang Xingxin can take the opportunity to observe her abilities and cultivate her fighting ability by the way. Big deal. Let Huahua be responsible for protecting her when the time comes. After the meal, Zhang Yi chatted with everyone for a few more words, nothing more than telling them not to go out recently and pay attention to observe the movement of Xianhe City. Then, he pretended to go back to his room to rest. But he quietly came to Yang Xingxin's room. Yang Xingxin was sitting on the fan's princess bed, looking up at him charmingly. "Brother, I knew you would come. It's your choice, so you have to know what to expect." Zhang Yi took a deep breath and then took out a gun from his pocket. Chapter 699 Precautions. Zhang Yi took out 2 guns and handed them to Yang Xingxin. These 2 guns have little recoil, so you should have no problem using them. But you still need to practice frequently. You don't need to be good at shooting. Just use them for self-defense. One is filled with ordinary bullets, which are used to deal with ordinary people. The other is filled with origin bullets, which are used to deal with aliens. Yang Xingxin happily took the gun over. Zhang Yi gave her the weapon, indicating that he would take her with him. In front of Zhang Yi, Yang Xingxin disassembled the gun very skillfully, checked the inside in the magazine, and assembled it after confirming that there was no problem. Seeing Zhang Yi's surprised gaze, Yang Xingxin said with a smile, "Actually, I have been practicing marksmanship. This kind of thing, I don't need my brother to remind me, people will do it too." Zhang Yi couldn't help laughing. "You really have planned for a long time." He touched his chin, and his eyes flicked over Yang Xingxin's petite and lovely body. Yang Xingxin looked shy. "Why don't you stay here to sleep tonight?" Zhang Yi was stunned for a moment, then shook his head and said with a smile, "Stop making trouble. When we get to Blizzard City, I'll get you a suitable suit to wear." Yang Xingxin's leg has just recovered, and her physical fitness is not particularly good. At that time, whatever he said, he would have to ask Zhu Zeng to get a black suit for Yang Xingxin to wear. His people, like him, have to solve the safety problem well. Let Oahu follow you when the time comes. It is responsible for protecting your safety. When I'm on the battlefield, I will try my best to bring you by my side. But when you encounter powerful aliens, you should stay away from me. Zhang Yi carefully told Yang Xingxin the details that need attention on the battlefield. This made Yang Xingxin's gaze more gentle, and it melted like water. Brother, you are so kind. The next morning, Zhang Yi called people from several major base forces to his home. He told Zhao Hanglian, Crossing Cheyenne and Chen Jingwen about the encirclement and suppression of Eclipse Moon. The faces of the three people changed greatly, and they were all very worried. Zhang Yi said to them, it's good to know that you are afraid. For the next period of time, just stay in the base honestly. Especially you. Zhang Yi turned to look at Chen Jingwen. If the other party wants to attack Xianhe City, it will most likely be by sea. So your people need to guard the coastline. Chen Jingwen was a little nervous. I will let people watch the sea carefully. It is not easy for them to come from the sea. After all, our troops are patrolling the sea. Oh. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows. He had never heard of this matter. Chen Jingwen said, I don't know if it is the navy of the Jiangnan region or the East China Sea region that will patrol the coast. We have encountered it when we went to sea. Zhang Yi said strangely, if there is a navy patrolling, why can people who eclipse the moon come across the sea? Chen Jingwen explained, under such an environment, the patrol of the navy is only to prevent large overseas fleets from invading the sea. If it is a relatively small target, it may be missed. Zhang Yi thought of the witch who had the power of prophecy in the eclipse, and he understood. The opponent should have used this ability in the Navy's missions to successfully pass through the line of defense. After all, today is different from the past. Braving the extremely low temperature, the Navy's patrol has become much more difficult. It is impossible to defend the long coastline along the entire southeast coast. Zhang Yi looked at the three of them and said earnestly, Linhe City has already been destroyed, and Jiangning City is also close to being destroyed. I don't want Xianhe City to repeat the same mistakes, so you all need to be more careful. Zhang Yi can only do this. If something happens in Xianhe City, his priority must be the people in his shelter. As for the three major bases, he can only say, let it happen. The three of them nodded their heads like pounding garlic. Their hearts were a little more vigilant, and they didn't dare to be careless. After the three of them were ready to go back, they immediately moved all their properties into the shelter. No further external actions will be taken for a short time. At this moment, Crossing Cheyenne suddenly thought of something. He said to Zhang Yi, then, do you need to take care of other small organizations in Xianhe City? Zhang Yi glanced at Crossing Cheyenne and asked in surprise, when did you become so kind? There are indeed some small forces in Xianhe City, but after you and Khan Gai's purge, there are basically not many people, and they can't make a fortune, just barely maintain their livelihood. Crossing Cheyenne chuckled. If it was someone else, I wouldn't ask, but that's your old acquaintance. My old acquaintance? Zhang Yi shook his head, just about to laugh, but suddenly, a shadow of a person appeared in his mind. He looked at Crossing Cheyenne suspiciously. Could it be that the person you mentioned is Li Jian? Crossing Cheyenne nodded. That's right, it's him. Zhang Yi's eyes were somewhat reminiscent. Before the end of the world, both Zhang Yi and Li Jian worked in the same company. Li Jian is the director of the financial department, and he is a small supervisor of the storage department. There is not much interaction between the two. However, from the bottom of his heart, Zhang Yi admired Li Jian very much. He is one of the few people who can retain his humanity in the last days. That is, a good person in the traditional sense. Zhang Yi can't do what he does, but it doesn't mean Zhang Yi doesn't admire him. If not forced by life, who would be willing to intrigue and fight with others all day long in exchange for a chance to survive? Zhang Yi asked, how are Li Jian and the others doing now? Crossing Cheyenne said, after the Snow Worship sect fell, Li Jian joined forces with several other people from the Snow Worship sect to set up a small organization, which gathered the survivors of the Snow Worship sect. There were about 50 people. Zhang Yi sighed, this guy always likes to do these kind things. On the contrary, everyone else looks like a bad person. After Zhang Yi thought for a while, he said to Crossing Cheyenne, let them join your organization. After all, the population of Xianhe City is dying, and after gathering them, you can have more people. After Zhang Yi had spoken, Crossing Shire naturally nodded in agreement. Blizzard City. Gao Changkang's return made the situation more delicate. ZHU Zheng highly praised Gao Changkang and expressed the hope that he would make further achievements in the next task of encircling and suppressing the eclipse. As for Blizzard City, almost everyone believed that Gao Changkang would become the leader of the third encirclement and suppression mission. At this time, Gao Changkang had high hopes from too many people. And Gao Changkang, what is he doing? He ignored the congratulations of those colleagues, but immediately after returning to Blizzard City, he led his men to the E area of the city. This is the area with the worst quality of life in the entire Blizzard City. The population living here is also engaged in the lowest level of manual labor. Chapter 700. On the second day after returning, Gao Changkang brought his girlfriend Guman and Deputy Captain Ji Yushin to Area E. They drove a big truck full of daily necessities such as food and coal exchanged for points. Their arrival has made people in this area very excited. This place is not considered a slum. Blizzard City still provides a good guarantee for the lives of ordinary residents and will not let them go hungry or cold. And the residents who can stay in Blizzard City are all the elites in the past society. Even if there are only some people engaged in the service industry, they were among the best in the past. However, they have families after all. Some families rely on the labor force of one person to support 2 or 3 people, which makes living materials a little stretched. Here in Area E, this situation is most obvious. Gao Changkang was the one who walked out of Area E, even though he was once a brilliant basketball superstar and had a very rich economy. After the end, his ability could not bring much contribution to Blizzard City. Therefore, he once lived here for more than a long month. Later, after awakening his abilities, he entered the city guard army with his extraordinary abilities and later joined Yan'an step by step and became one of the captains of the investigation team. So every time he came back from a mission, he never forgot to come to the place where he used to live and send some living supplies to the people in Area E who had helped him. After Gao Changkang came to the community, he was warmly welcomed by the people. Guman smiled and asked everyone to line up and then receive daily necessities. There are no useless sundries, they are the key materials for sustaining life. At times like this, there is nothing more touching than the resources for heating and food. Among the crowd, a Mediterranean old man who had received the supplies looked at the food and coal in his hands and looked gratefully at Gao Changkang who was carrying the supplies. It would be great if Captain Gao could be the commander-in-chief of the Jiangnan region in the future. As soon as he said this, everyone around him nodded in agreement. Yes, Captain Gao is kind-hearted and knows how to take pity on ordinary people like us. If he becomes the commander-in-chief, we won't have such a hard life. Hearing this, Guman raised a proud smile on his lips. She brushed her hair and turned to look at the man who was busy carrying supplies on the train. Who would have thought that the captain of the investigation team, a well-known big shot in Blizzard City, would often do this kind of hard work? Hearing people's comments, Gao Changkang laughed and said, "Don't talk nonsense, everyone. I just did some trivial things, so you don't need to flatter me too much. ZHU Shui has already made Blizzard City very good. At least everyone can live in peace and stability." Among the crowd, a woman lowered her head and said with a gloomy expression, "Is this really the case for a safe and stable life?" Jinling had a population of 1,500 million at the beginning, but after the end of the world, less than 200 million people were screened into Blizzard City. Later, if they lose their ability to work due to various problems, they will be ruthlessly expelled. She took a deep breath and tried not to let her emotions collapse, because she thought of her parents, a pair of elderly people in their 70s, who were driven out of Blizzard City for this reason. Gao Changkang fell silent. This kind of thing is really helpless in the last days. Limited resources can only support a limited population. Otherwise, the entire Blizzard City will collapse, and everyone will die together. In the future, the world will gradually get better. Please believe it. Gao Changkang told everyone with determined eyes. His eyes inspired many people and gave everyone confidence. It would be great if Captain Gao could be the commander-in-chief. Although ZHU Shui is good, doesn't he have to be coerced by those upper level forces? After all, we civilians still have a very difficult life. Not everyone is called Geo Changkang. When the women said this, they immediately pulled the children beside them and taught them to learn from Geo Changkang. Have you seen it? Even ordinary people can't change their fate against the sky. Captain Geo, like us, has lived an area E, but now he has become a big shot. The children are already tired of hearing this kind of talk, because their parents used Geo Changkang as an example almost every day. Geo Changkang was also very familiar with this scene, so after distributing the supplies, he asked the community again if there was anything that needed help. After working for a long time, I finally settled the matter here. He, Guman, and Ji Yushin drove to District A and found a cafe to rest. Where the poor live, there are only cold honeycomb residential buildings. The place where the rich live is almost exactly the same as before the end of the world. You can enjoy all kinds of food, and even luxury goods can be bought at a cheaper price. The three ordered coffee and dessert, and sat down at a seat by the window. The clerk's attitude towards them was extremely respectful, and he looked at Geo Changkang again, full of love for a little girl. Even if this female shop assistant is already a 32-year-old mother, who doesn't have a girlish heart, she is the type who can bring her husband and children and watch idol concerts in a wedding dress. It's a pity that Geo Changkang is sitting next to Guman, a woman who can easily make the same sex feel inferior. After the coffee was served, several people started chatting in their spare time. Ji Yushin leaned on the wicker chair, smiled and said, "We just came back, and we thought we could rest for a while. But the higher-ups asked us to do the task again. This Jiangnan region really can't do without us." Geo Changkang took a sip of mocha and smiled. "It's just because we happen to be free. If other investigation teams come back, they will also carry out this task." Guman looked at Geo Changkang's side face and pursed his lips into a smile. "That's why it's better to come sooner than later, isn't it?" Geo Changkang couldn't help but sighed. "Yes. Sometimes, it's really luck. If we catch up with the mission in Qianhe City, then..." All three couldn't help but sigh. Who would have imagined that a simple mission to eliminate zombies would encounter aliens of the Epsilon level? Bian Junwoo was killed, and the Black Robe team suffered heavy losses. Even if Geo Changkang has a very powerful ability, it will not be able to make up the gap between him and the awakened Epsilon. Ji Yushin looked around, and there were not many people in the cafe. He put down the cup in his hand and whispered to the two of them, "Captain, Sister Gu, once we successfully complete this mission, the reincarnation team will become the #1 existence among the 6 investigation teams. At that time, our prestige will reach an unprecedented height. After all, this is to drive away foreign enemies." Geo Changkang smiled slightly. "How can it be that simple? It is impossible for the people above to give me so much credit so easily." End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.